everyone, and welcome to a special edition of the Stardom Road podcast here on the Countout Podcast Network, or for the first time ever available on the YouTube channel. I am here with my co-host, as always, Trent. Trent, how are you?
I'm feeling very self-conscious today, and you know why? Because we're doing video for the very first time on the Stardom Road. Now, this is the first time I've done video. I've done other video stuff, but maybe people who listen to Stardom Road haven't seen me do those things, and they're seeing this face for the very first time. So, uh, congratulations. I apologize, whichever way you want to go about it. Of course, you can still listen to the podcast version of this if you see our faces and go, oh, I can't deal with that for the however long this episode's going to go for.
Of course, I'm here to say Happy New Year to everyone.
That too.
Of course, this is our first episode of year number 2, essentially. Second full year, second full calendar year. Obviously, I'm very excited to get into this, and we are starting with something kind of new to the show. We'll start an annual tradition, and it's our chance to bring in current events of the Stardom world onto this podcast, and that is the 2023 roster tiers that we will be going through. We will be putting each member in their own tier from S all the way down to D, underwhelming to over the top, delivered and greatness. And in a crazy year of Stardom, it should be a lot of fun to see how that plays out.
It's important to note when we're going through this, not every single roster member is here. We had a bit of discussion like who we count, who we don't. We didn't come up with like an official number, but basically you need to have wrestled a certain amount of matches. You can't have been there for like 3 or 4 matches in Stardom. So the main admissions are Kyrie. She didn't wrestle enough for us to justify being there. Mercedes Moné didn't wrestle enough. And pretty much the 3 rookies from November, so Yuzuki and then Sayaka and then Rana, they aren't included because we felt like they haven't had enough time to properly prove themselves. Actually, I think Yuzuki might be on the list. So it's the two newest rookies. We also have included 1 or 2 people who aren't signed, primarily Megan Bain, Mariah May, and Nanai Takahashi, because we felt they did enough in the company in 2023 to justify being judged by us.
Yeah, of course, of course. And I think I want to say thank you to everyone that's really been jumping in on the Stardom Road podcast. You made 2023 a very successful year for our show, to the point where we're going to keep going with it. I think, sometimes with podcasts you get a little bit down, but this has been an absolute hoot per se. I know a lot of people keep going back. Maybe this will be the first podcast that people jump in on right away to kind of hear our thoughts on the year. But like Trent said, we're gonna go through the whole roster, every single member. And if you want to, you could check out the YouTube video to see us place each roster member. You can see where the tiers end up. And I'm sure surely you can guess where maybe some will go, others maybe you'll be surprised. I think that's the fun of this list. And we're not going to go based off of just who's the main eventers and who's not.
No.
We're going to have a very specific criteria here, which I will, of course, let Trent describe.
Basically, we're looking at 4 different things. So the first thing we're looking at is kayfabe achievements. So did you win your matches? Did you win championships? Did you win tournaments? Were you one of those kind of players, or did you just were you there to eat pins? That's kind of the first category. The second category is in-ring performance. So when you got your matches, did you deliver? Did you put on matches where we're going, oh, what's Dave's ratings on that one? How many stars? Or were you in the ring and we're kind of on our phone, kind of flicking through Twitter or X and just sort of doing other stuff? So that's the second category. Third category is general kind of impact on the company. Now, this is an interesting one, I think, because it kind of comes in 2 flavors. Firstly, if you are a constant main eventer, we're going to give you bonus points. If you are lower rung, we're not going to give you many bonus points. However, this is important. We will rate you based on where you are expected to be. So if you are a typical main eventer, if you've been winning championships for years and years, and you deliver a bad year, you're going to be judged more harshly than a lower carder who may be under-delivered. Likewise, if you're an undercarder who came out and just smashed for 6, which is a cricketing term which probably doesn't apply to a lot of people, you hit a home run. There we go for Americans. If you hit a home run and you're a lower carder, we're going to give you bonus points because, hey, you did a better than we expected. And I think the fourth one and the most important is personal preference. If we like you, you get bonus points. If we don't like you, you're going to be at the bottom of the tiers.
Yeah, and I think there is going to be something to be said as someone who watches a lot of house shows. I'm going to value that
Mm.
for certain competitors more than others too. Effort goes a long way, and effort is what brings up a lot of shows. And what was a chaotic year for Stardom, certainly some other wrestlers, maybe ones that you don't see shine as much on pay-per-views, I think I'm going to give them some love and so on and so forth. But I'm
You have
very
to sit
excited to
through
do
the
this.
matches. You want to reward them.
Absolutely. And I'm very excited about this. Obviously, if this is releasing, Stardom's off to the gates to their new big year
Mm.
upcoming. They have a lot coming up. But this is about 2023, and we'll kind of announce our next big show. We have a double dose of
We
excitement
sound like
for
Stardom, a
sure.
double dose of big shows.
I know. We're just not doing back-to-back days. I'm sorry. No back-to-back nights. You guys got to wait another 2 weeks for that one. But after taking an extra week off, we felt like this was a fun way to pay you back, give a
Mm.
little video component if you want to be entertained by me and Trent, potentially fighting about certain spots here, which I'm sure will be happening.
There
But
has been
let's
internal discussion. We are aware there's a couple of interesting cases on this roster.
Yes. So let's get to it. The old-fashioned tier maker here, made
Mhm.
by Trent. I'm sure we'll be able to share this tier maker to those who I'm positive will be very interested in getting to see it and maybe give their own.
Yeah,
Uh,
please do. Let us know what you think your roster is. And yeah, it's always fun to compare. Like, obviously, we have our certain ideas and thoughts, but maybe listening or watching this, you'll be like, no, you're underrating this person, or come on, they did better than that, or whatever. So let us know.
I firmly believe this is the best roster in the world in terms of young talent, main event talent, up and coming talent, and I'm excited to dive into this. And mind you, this is not going to be like us saying these wrestlers are necessarily bad or
Mm.
something of the sorts. This is us saying they underachieved, overachieved, delivered, lived up to expectations, and hopefully next year it's vastly different, right? We
Mm.
want to see as many people high up on the S and A tier. That's what we want to see,
Yeah.
obviously. But it was a tough year for some. So without further ado, let's get to it. Obviously, this is an alphabetical order. I'm gonna pick and choose from time to time because doing only alphabetical order, no offense to Yuzuki, but I don't think we want to end the show on Yuzuki as the final one. So instead, we're going to start with
Wow.
Yuzuki, the rookie, the brand new rookie, obviously receiving tons of praise early on in her career. We're sitting here and she's had about a month and a half. She's heading into
Hmm.
the rookie tournament tomorrow as of this recording. She is someone that next year could be a lot higher on this list, all
Yeah.
things considered. But this is really where I think we go and look at expectations. We look at performance in such a short time. She has
Mm.
the least matches on this entire list. And she is a roster member, so that should say it all. Um, I'll let Trent take this one away though and kind of start us off here because I think going with a rookie first kind of doesn't really, I don't know if it sets the standard, but it definitely gives an idea of what to expect.
You know what you've done? You've thrown a spanner in the works. I was not expecting this. Starting off with the rookie, starting off with someone with the least amount of experience. She debuted on November 17th, and now we've got to rate her out of one of these 5 tiers. I am feeling personally, if I had to judge for a rookie, someone who's only had a few matches, she has come out of the gate swinging. I thought she's done a really good job as a rookie. However, I think there's a very hard ceiling for someone who's had like 6 matches. They're all
Yeah.
lower card matches. There's no expectations. There's no sort of pressure on her. So my feeling there is maybe a low B tier for now. We can
Oh,
obviously
wow,
switch
okay.
things around. We can move things around. For what she's done with the opportunity she's given, I lean towards B. You could convince me for C though, given she has
Yeah.
only wrestled 6 matches.
Yeah, for someone who is, of course, so new and, doesn't have a lot of matches, don't have a lot of moments to her name,
Mm,
she checked every box that she could in that time, and I think this is the best way to kinda show, did you do everything right? Did you, uh, bring efforts? Like, I thought her debut against Momo was fantastic, I really do. I thought it was as good a debut as she could have asked for,
mm.
truthfully, right?
Best debut
And
since Atami.
probably, yeah. I can't think of anyone else. Like, I thought Amasaki did pretty good, all things considered,
Mm,
against Utami in her debut, but I thought against Momo, she flashed a lot of excitement that
yeah.
had people talking, and I think that says a lot. You know, she's gonna be lower B tier, maybe higher C tier just because
Mm,
of her experience levels, but at the same time, Yuzuki is someone to watch out for, and I think that's very important as well. And I
yeah.
think again, this time next year, I expect her to probably be even higher because again, sky's the limit. She could add a rookie of the year tournament, she could add a future title. We don't know, but I'm very excited for her development. Now I'll bring us back to the normal. I'll go back to the top. We will go with Ami Sarai. Of course, Ami Sarai won the Goddess of Stardom titles with Mirai.
Mhm,
The reign was not good. I'm I'm
no.
not gonna sugarcoat that one. The reign was very much underwhelming, but an accolade nonetheless. She also was future Stardom champion during this year
Mhm,
before dropping the belt to Rena. She had a 5-star Grand Prix one that did not involve many wins,
mm,
really, at all. Um, but she is someone that I think was finally starting to put some pieces together towards the end of the year
yeah.
without a spotlight on her. And I think that's a credit to her. So she has accolades, but even if she was putting it together at the end of the year, I thought for most of the year there was still something lacking there. I don't know if she had that many noteworthy matches. I think more often than not, her and Mirai kind of proved to me that they're just not the right duo to be the God's Eye team that we kind
Mm.
of see it week in and week out. And I think that does hurt her ultimately. And if I had to say, I would be going C. And I think the reason I'm going C is because of the accolades more than anything. If she didn't have those two pairs of accolades, she would be probably D for me. But because of the accolades, and I can respect that accomplishment, I can respect the clear improvements towards the end of the year. I think C is a good spot for Ami Sarai.
C is where I was leaning myself. I think it's one of those things where over the course of the year, she's been given enough accolades to sort of puff up her sort of resume without overloading things and giving her more than she can handle at any one time. She was the Goddess of Stardom champion for a little bit. She was the future Stardom champion until May. She also challenged for the white belt and the strong women's championship. So there's 2 matches where she gets a chance, especially the white belt match. That was like a main event match. That was putting a lot of expectations on her, testing to see where she's at. She's also in the Triangle Derby finals, which is not the biggest feather to put in your cap, but it is still an accolade that we should
Yep.
consider. She was okay in the ring. I think they're giving her the right amount of pressure and expectations for her to begin to prove herself, begin to improve without doing too much against her. Yeah, there's not really a match that she's had where I think, oh, this is what I would show people if I want to convince people of what Ami Sarai is capable of. But she's had flashes of brilliance. She's had some good kind of bruiser matches, some Hoss matches. The match against Micah in the Red Belt tournament from November or December. That's sort of probably the match that you would kind of point to. And there's improvement there. I expect her to be higher on the list come 2024. But yeah, the accolades is kind of propping her up a little bit too much to
Yep.
put her any higher than C, I think.
We'll continue here alphabetically. We will go next with Aya Sakura, another rookie, but one that has unfortunately been out of action due to injury
Yeah.
for much of the year. She only got in a handful of matches before sadly disappearing, and only recently has she started to get back to training, it seems like. Very unfortunate because I thought like one of her last matches, she was starting to like find it a little bit. You know, she
Mm.
brings the unique side of being a kick based wrestler, which I'm always welcoming of. But she certainly, out of the rookies that have debuted this year, is definitely on the back burner in terms of uh, getting elevated and showing the most promise. But we don't know where she'd be had the injury not happened. So this is a case of unfortunate unfortunate circumstances that kind of hurt her overall rating here. And I don't think she was necessarily shining over the top or anything like Yuzuki was. So I'm gonna go with D. I don't mean to be hurtful on the rookie who, you know, couldn't do much, but just based off the performance of what she
Mm.
was doing, it wasn't anything out of the ordinary. And out of the rookies that have debuted, she was at the bottom.
I have bright hopes for her. I think if she can get back in the ring and sort of get back into the system, I think her style of wrestling definitely has a certain sense of appeal. Like not to put the impression against her, but I think of like Narisa Hashiki in the sense that she's got a very unique striking style and kind of that bubbly, outgoing personality. That combination we've seen work. Now, do I expect her to end up like Arisa Hashiki? That's asking a lot. But that kind of gives you like a potential target range. Unfortunately, she debuted March 25. She got injured, or she was out of action from July 8th. So she's missed longer than she's wrestled in the course of this year. She probably just makes the cutoff period, if we're being honest, in terms of impact and matches, but she's been in the Stardom system long enough. I think D is unfortunately the right call. It doesn't help that amongst the many rookies that have debuted this year, probably feels like hers was the least impactful. You know, like I think you'd be looking at her, comparing her to Sayaka, and I think even Sayaka maybe is looking a little bit more promising come the end of the year. 2024, she can come back, she can change that opinion. You can only go up, but unfortunately, yeah, a difficult first year for her, if we're being honest.
Absolutely. Next up, I'm gonna go out of order again. Kind of shake it up on Trent. This is the fun part for me. I'm the one that has the
You're in
control here.
control.
And we're gonna go with international. We're gonna go a little international. We're going to go with Megan Bain.
Mm.
Megan Bain, who stormed onto the scene by challenging Tam for the World of Stardom Championship, was dominant on house shows, and as we saw by the end of the year, got a whole lot better in very little time. I think she is someone who brought up her own stock in terms of not only the wrestling world, but in Stardom alone. She went from having a very basic move set to bringing out all these different crazy maneuvers in that Julia match and having a breakout performance. She also won the Goddess of Stardom
Hmm.
Tag League alongside Micah as Divine Kingdom. And she is someone who made an immediate impact in many, many ways. And I think for someone who, you know, we obviously didn't expect at the beginning of the year, she made her mark heading into the new year.
Megan Bain is someone who I think when people saw coming in, there was a mixture of excitement and trepidation. Those who knew her from like a little stint with AEW and the independent scene were cautiously optimistic about what she was capable of. Others kind of saw the typical big bruising foreigner coming in, and we've seen a few of those through Stardom in the years, and typically they don't do that much. They're very immobile in a lot of ways, especially compared to the Stardom roster. Megan Bain has done everything right. She's come in, made an immediate impact. Her first match with Tam was very good. I think put people at ease seeing what she was capable of there. And then she stuck around for the entirety of the rest of the year and has been impactful without forcing her way into situations. She's done what you need to do and succeed in Stardom, and that's create stories and create relationships on the house show circuit in the tag team matches. Here we are at the end of December, and she's only been in here for about half a year. And you can point to about half the roster where she's got an allyship with, or a rivalry with, or some kind of interaction with that is notable. That's what you need to do in Stardom to succeed. Her matches have been good. Obviously, she's gone out strong for the end of the year with Julia, and she's sticking around, which doesn't really come into the rankings, but does get a little bonus point for me in terms of like, hey, you come in, you're sticking around, you're keeping with the company. That's really good. I'm torn between two rankings. I'm thinking high B, maybe low A. I'm inclined to say B. That's my personal opinion, but I'm open to discussion on this.
She's an interesting one because I think she actually brought a lot to house shows,
Hmm.
which I like to give a little bonus to, because you bring something to house shows in all these random pairings that kind of felt fresh. Her mix and match relationship with May Sarah was one of my favorite things
Hmm.
um, on the house shows more often than not. I think there was a lot of fun, kind of post that TAM match, right? That, she's just part of the roster and it's like, what is she supposed to be doing? Right? Because it's like, she doesn't have a specific place
Hmm.
necessarily, but to me, she went above and beyond more times than not to um, give herself a spot. And I'm definitely in the same ballpark as you. I'm torn really between low A and high B, mostly because of just recency bias. Like, she had arguably the best match of her career
Hmm.
against Julia, and it wasn't Julia that shined; it was her, right?
Yeah.
And I think that bias makes me want to give her a little extra love, but ultimately I'm going to leave it to you to make this one.
That's cruel of you. I like a certain sense of symmetry. I'm willing to go low A because we can
Okay.
adjust like
Okay.
afterwards. Yeah. The toughest thing is because she's only had half a year in the company. She wasn't here for a full year. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. If you're in for the full year and you've stuck around for the full year, spoiler alert, that will come into play with some of these wrestlers. I think you get more points. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think what she's done has really impressed, done really well, and she's done everything right. I'm willing to go A.
Next up, we got Yuna Mizumori, someone who I think filled her role in an exceptional fashion.
Mm.
She wasn't brought into Stardom to be a main event star. She wasn't even brought into Stardom to be a title challenger. She was brought into Stardom to help fill the roster and ultimately, by performance alone, got herself into a great role with the Cosmic Angels. You want to talk about house show performances? She often delivered some of the best. She always gives 100% effort. She is someone that has left Western fans, at the very least, wanting more out of her in the upcoming year. I think she's done everything and anything to deserve at least a B role here because of the performance she's
Mm.
winning. I'm thinking low B, high C, but I think high C is too low, truthfully.
If you'd asked me maybe 2 months ago, I would have been firmly in C. I think her work, especially recently when the roster has been decimated, they've needed people to stand up and kind of take on a bigger role in the circumstances to keep the train chugging. I think she's done a fantastic job there. That leans me to say low B. The main knocks against her is like when you look at what has she done for the year. Well, she joined the company. There's not like an official Yuna Mizumori is now a Stardom wrestler, but she came in, she did the Triangle Derby, and then just kind of stuck around. So like you could basically say she's been here for the full year, or you could say she's officially joined around the same time as May Sarah, Suzu Suzuki. Beyond that, like there's not much in the way of accolades. She's just kind of been there doing her thing, plying her craft, which is fine. She's done well in that role, but I think it does put a bit of a cap on her in terms of how far she can go. But I think her in-ring work and how well she's adapted to the Stardom system on low B is fair in my opinion.
I think and I think you're right. I think the main question now is above or below Yuzuki, because this matters, folks.
Mm. Oh, I'm going to say above Yuzuki just because of the body of work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That passion injection match that she had one, correct? I'm not crazy
Yes,
here.
she did.
I thought that was really where she started to elevate herself, as well as the matches to try to get into Cosmic Angels. I thought that
Although
was
I'm
a great
glad they
story.
dropped the overarching story surrounding that.
Yes, absolutely. It became more of wanting to just prove herself.
Mm.
And ultimately, when she got to be part of it, it proved to be a big deal, especially with a lot of them out, right? She's
Yes.
had to fill in roles that I don't think she was prepared to do, maybe mentally, but physically in the ring, she's done it.
She
And
got brought in on a two-way contract and had to get lifted up to the main roster because everyone was injured.
put into a starting role very quickly. She
Mm.
didn't like she this is really where I think we set the precedent now for these
Yep.
lower card acts. If you kind of rise up to the occasion, we're gonna give you some credit.
Mm.
Next up, we got Azumi. Azumi, of course, had the record high speed title reign this year before it officially ended. She also faced Julia for the strong women's championship. She had a great 5-star Grand Prix, including big wins over specifically Utami Hayashishita in Korakuen
Mm.
Hall. That was probably her biggest win of the year. She had, to me, at the time, and maybe still, I thought she gave Hanan the best singles match of her career in that same very tournament. Azumi is a constant in
Yes.
Stardom, obviously, and she is someone that is very consistent. And the more she gets opportunities, the more she's going to rise. In terms of living up to expectations, we want to talk about performance. She was in the match of the year, folks. She was a big part of the match of the year, folks. She wasn't Aphrodite, but she was in that.
Mm.
And she played a big part of that story throughout the summer. And I do think I'm going to give her some points for that.
For me, to work out where Azumi sits on this list, you just need to look at the first letter of her name. A for Azumi. I think she's a high A. I think she's been one of the best consistent performers of the year because, yeah, she's had constant impact in the company. She started off with the record breaking high speed run and she held that through to May 27th. So, nearly half the year she was holding
Mhm.
that belt and making it feel important. Pretty much as soon as she lost that belt, she jumped straight into the brunt of the Queen's Quest story with Oedo Tai. She
Yep.
wasn't the focal point, but she was a good secondary protagonist in that. Then you have the 5-star Grand Prix. As soon as that finished, she was involved in that. Had a fantastic run, constant great matches. As soon as that finished, she had her 10th anniversary show at Korakuen Hall, which gave her a bit of importance. And then jumping into the New Japan Strong Women's Championship match with Julia. So she's done what no one else on this list can really say. And from January to December, has felt important to the company. Even like the throwaway shows where the Dream Tag Festival, she main evented that and closed out the show. That's a pretty important thing. That's a good accomplishment. It's very easy for me to give her a high A here personally. She's had a tremendous year. I think it should be applauded. Someone in her situation has just gone from strength to strength to strength to strength.
Yep. We're going to put her high A. We're going to put her ahead of Megan Bain
Mm-hmm.
here. She's now our highest ranked so far in this tier. Um, and I think she deserves it.
Yep.
Obviously, I think the record high speed reign, I think that Queen's Quest story, and the big Julia match kind of as the bow on top of a great year gets her that spot. And I
Mm.
think if all goes right in 2024, she could be even higher. Will all go
Depending on
right
the
though.
theory that we've been working on.
Yes, this is true. Next up, we got Death, Fukigen, Death. I know, very exciting. This is probably the least she's been active in
Yeah.
Stardom.
Yeah.
It's been very notable because the clown has almost become a special attraction in some ways when she shows up. Um, it's kind of sad though. I think
Mm.
that she's dwindled her dates down. But as we saw at Stardom Dream Queendom, it doesn't matter. She's over as hell when she is
Yeah.
around. It wasn't like a banner year or anything. I don't think it's really hard for me to give her much more than like low C, but probably D. I just don't see it.
Yeah, she just hasn't done enough in the company, and like she's been represented enough in the company that she could be doing more. You know, she basically had a couple of high speed title matches. That's it. She wasn't involved in the cage match. She was the kind of Oedo Tai member, not active in that. She hasn't been involved enough. When she showed up, she's been a lot of fun, but she also hasn't necessarily changed her gimmick either. Like what you see from Fukigen Def in 2023 is what you saw in Fukigen Def from 2022. It's fun. And if you're in the live crowd, you're seeing it. It's really, really fun, and I can attest to that. But there's a limit to it, I think. And yeah, I would say low C or high D. I don't like to be mean, so I would say maybe low C, but like if we start getting too many people in C, she might get bumped down.
All right, for now she'll go low C, obviously below Ami Sarai.
Yes.
Um, next up here on the tier list, podcast listeners, I will of course bring this out. We have the retired Hameka. Think this is a fitting one to bring into the fold now. Obviously, she has the big signature match at the start of the year, teaming with Micah against 7 Up in one of the best tag team matches of all of pro wrestling in 2023. She, of course, has the great retirement road that featured pretty much every match under the sun. And before she retired, she was rather high in my own Wrestler of the Year list. I thought she had some great matches along the way. She, of course, fought ALK at that Corkin show, which was great. She also wrestled Micah at All Star Grand Queendom in her first of 3 retirement matches. She'd go to Pro Wrestling Wave and have another retirement match. And then, of course, at the Corkin to say goodbye, she had the match against the entire roster. And it was truly a wonderful way to end her career. It was also the highest attended Corkin of the year in pro
Mhm.
wrestling. So I'm gonna give her points for that.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to go too high because she missed a lot of the year, and
Yeah.
pretty much every other part of the year we knew she was retiring.
Mm,
Um,
mm.
I'm thinking high B just because of how much excitement her retirement road brought. And if she was around, maybe 2 more months, she could have pushed. But she's been gone for a long time now. But she was also there for Micah on the last night of the year, so bonus points for that.
She's the last person in 2023 to hold the red belt. So that's all
Pretty
you
sure
have to
Micah
know.
took it from her, but that's fine.
No. Himeka
Uh,
kept it. That's the official thing. Himeka kept it. Yeah. Look, she retired on the 14th of May. As great as her retirement run was, that means she's missed more of the year than she was involved with. Yeah, she had good matches. She had great lead up with the retirement stuff, and that felt important. She didn't dominate the proceedings because there was a lot going on around that time, but there was definitely for a couple of months there, all eyes were on Himeka. I think high B is the right call. I don't think you can go higher than that just with the amount of stuff she did. And at the end of the day, she was only there until May. But the time that she was there was fantastic. January through to May was either all about Himeka or she was doing great stuff as well.
sorry, technical difficulties on my end. I'm back. Um, yeah, so we said high B, right?
Yes, yes.
Yes. Sorry. See, professional podcaster. Um,
Professional podcast, but this is video.
Exactly. High B, she goes above Yuna Mizumori and Yuzuki so far on the tier list for the podcast listeners. I just want to give them a
We'll
map
go through
of
the
where
full
we're at.
list for the podcast listeners later, but yeah, we got a
Next
lot of
up,
people to go through.
we sure do. We sure do. And I will give a refresh in about 2 or 3 wrestlers for the podcast listeners. Next up, we got Lady C. You can start.
I like Lady C, and I'm inclined to give her bonus points. She scores high on the personal preference list. I like her story. I like the hard work she's been putting in. That's about the only real pluses we can give, unfortunately. She's still very much a lower card wrestler. She got a spot in the cage match, which is our match of the year. Um, I thought she did really well in that match too. Like she had good sort of story involvement and did everything. But outside of that, like she's just been a bit piece player. She'll pop up here and there, get little moments, but like there's her best match has probably been against an Takahashi, the passion injection. That's good as well. But we've hit the point with her where I think there is an expectation to see more from her, given the amount of experience she's got based on Stardom history. Um, I would probably be putting her in D tier, unfortunately. Despite it's Lady C, in 2023, it's been Lady D.
Wow, that's tough. That's tough. But yeah, you're right. I don't have much to say about Lady C. I really don't. I think she does her role well. I think
Hmm.
she cares a lot. I think she's done pretty good on New Blood, actually.
That's giving
And
her a
her,
chance to step out a little bit more.
yeah, and like you said, she was in that cage match, so that helps.
Hmm.
Um, but ultimately, it's hard for her to, I think, get much higher than D. Just that's her role. That's her role,
Yeah,
and she doesn't over deliver ever, in my
yeah.
opinion. Outside of a match here or there,
I'm
and
really hoping we see her rise through the ranks a bit more. Like, I don't think she's going to be a wonder or world contender anytime soon, but I'd like to see her get to the point where she's challenging for the artist belts. I think that's a good spot, especially in 2024. I think we need to see that. That gives her a chance to prove herself on a more important setting and sort of test where you're at without overloading her.
absolutely. Next up, we got Waka Tsukiyama. Waka, of course, finally getting her first win this year in what I thought was a fantastic tag team match against
Yeah.
Nai Takahashi and Kairi with Tam Nakano by her side. And then really after that, nothing happened.
There was a brief period like after she won the first
Oh, she
match.
went to the Cinderella semis, actually.
Yeah,
Sorry.
she made it to the Cinderella semi-finals, and I think there's a lot of people thinking, okay, we're starting to the wheels are in motion. We're seeing Waka start to do things, and then if we're being honest, she just kind of dropped off the face of the earth in terms of stardom. Like I think with the 5-star Grand Prix coming in, no one expected her to be in that, but yeah, like she didn't end up really capitalizing beyond the Cinderella tournament. She struggled with some injuries as well, which obviously is going to slow you down and take away opportunities, but if you'd asked me at the start of May, what's the road for Waka Tsukiyama looking like? It's very different to what it ended up being. I was expecting there to be a lot more for her. Maybe an artist championship attempt, if not victory. But it definitely didn't help that the rest of Cosmic Angels and Club Venus had their own things going on. She joined Club Venus, and then Mina and Mariah May were best friends, and they were doing everything together, and she was just kind of there.
Yeah, yeah. I think I'm going to give her at least C because of the early year um aspect. Like
Hmm.
that story of her getting her win was excellent. Like it
Yeah.
really was. Like I loved the stuff with Nanai, the passion injection match and building and right, Tam sets the date. Like you need to win by this date or you're
Mm.
out. And I thought that was really intriguing. I think that for me gives her just a layer to get her to see. I'm not saying high, like I'm not saying like over a lot of people. Like I think she's
Yeah.
still below Ami Saray.
Yeah.
Um, but I think that does push her because she did give some really entertaining moments. It fell completely off after that.
Yeah, it's she did enough in the first part of the year, I think, to elevate beyond D tier. Because, like, yeah, one of the biggest stories for the first 6 months of Stardom was Waka's attempt to win. They made merchandise surrounding her winning a match. Like, that's how big of a deal it was. And yeah, the Cinderella tournament. So you're looking at basically through to May. So those first 4 or 5 months, she was relevant enough and interesting enough. So I think it puts her above Fukigen Death for me, but definitely below Army Sarai.
Sure, sure. I think I think that's a fair spot for her with Hiloshi. Uh, so she's like Trent said, behind Ami Saray in C tier, but above Fukigen
They're both doing the same pose, I've got to say, too. I quite like that. Looks
Yeah,
like
can't
Waka's
break them up
seen
now.
Amy do the pose and she's trying to emulate.
We cannot break them up. Let's go with the big one now here. Julia. She started the
Mm,
year as World of Stardom champion. That reign, of course, was an underwhelming one at that. Ultimately losing in the main event of the biggest Stardom show ever to Tam Nakano at All Star Grand Queendom in what I thought was an excellent world title match. She'd go on, however, quickly to regain gold, winning both the Artist of Stardom Championships alongside Tekla and Mai Sakurai, as well as the New Japan Strong Women's Championship, beating Willow Nightingale at Independence Day for New Japan. And since then, she has defended the title time and time again against the likes of Risa Sarah, Yu, Azumi, most recently Megan Bain, as well as traveling to the US for the first
mhm.
time ever, defending the belt against Momo Kogo, Deonna Purrazzo, Giselle Shaw, as well as that was the most recent one. Oh,
Megan
Hyan. I
Bain.
love no Hyan
Yeah.
as well, which I thought that was actually a really solid match. I think Hyan's someone that I'd actually like to see in Stardom somewhere down
Mm.
the road. I think she offers something different. Um, did I miss anyone else? Did she defend in Japan one more time? I feel like she might.
Possibly. I kind of lost track because you were saying a lot of names really quickly and my brain doesn't work quickly.
Yeah, well, oh well. But ultimately, she ends the year as a double champion after coming into
Yep.
the year as a champion. So that is definitely accolade after accolade after accolade for her. But where, of course, she does lose some points for me is one, the World of Stardom title reign not being what we hoped it would live up to be. That is one of the more upsetting title reigns, I think, in Stardom history, just in terms of the potential it had,
Mm.
and where it ultimately went towards. I also would add that I don't her strong women's title reign has really gone up recently. And
Yep.
it's really helping her case now, right? The Osmond match is great. The Megan Bay match is great. And I think it's really helped establish that title, a title that she may not even supposed to have right now, but that's a different conversation for another day. She also had some great matches throughout the 5-star Grand Prix, which I do need to give respect to her. She had great matches. She, if anyone cares, ultimately by the end of the year, she is ranked as my second or it's either the second or third women's wrestler of the year, also finishing top 10 overall. So, in a year where it was a lot of ups and downs, a lot of weirdness, she was still Julia. She was still great. It was a bumpy road to get to the end here.
Yeah, I think at the start of 2023, a lot of us were predicting her to kind of run away with Wrestler of the Year because the opportunity was there for her. You know, she's going to be top champion. She's going to have a cavalcade of people lining up to challenge her with story and the interesting matches. Ultimately, they went with the Ice Ribbon story route, which in hindsight wasn't that bad because we got a good match with Suzu. We've seen better. A really enjoyable match against Mayu Kihi, which that's I think it's getting forgotten because it happened so long ago. But that was a match that everyone was kind of talking about when it happened. And then a really good match against Tam Nakano to lose the title. The problem was there's so many stories they could have run that they didn't then touch on. And now that she's with the strong title, they haven't really been touching that either. Her in-ring performance through the year has been exemplary. You can't really say she's put a foot wrong. She's done everything in her power to make the strong title feel relevant, important, interesting. She's inserted herself into storyline. She's made herself become an important part of the roster throughout the entire year, even when the focus hasn't been on her. She's had great matches, like obviously the ones you've mentioned. She had a really good 5-star Grand Prix. The Artist Championship, she's held that since like the end of May. So they've been champions for a long time. For me, it's a question of is she in S tier or is she in A tier? The fact you've got her so high on your Women's Wrestler of the Year roster, and I do as well, I would say she gets one of the very rare S tier spots.
Yeah, even in a year where I think she underwhelmed in terms of her title reign in certain situations, she's still Julia She still carries a lot of weight. She still delivered in the spots she needed to deliver. I think she's low S tier. I think there's
Yeah.
just some people that are easily ahead of her this year still.
Mm.
But I think some people might argue high A, but just with the accolades alone, it's hard to beat. She held 3 titles this year, folks.
Yeah.
She was essentially champion for 365 days, like, and double champion for half the
Mm.
year. That is something we're talking about. She delivered in the ring. It's hard to fight Julia as S
The
tier, I think.
title reign wasn't her fault. It wasn't a case of she's going out there and having mediocre matches. It was the sort of booking the length and the choice of opponents was disappointing in the long run. They would have been fine in like a 7-month, 8-month reign. But when you've only got 3, 4 months to tell a story and the Triangle Derby hindered that ability to, that was the main knock against that title reign for me personally.
Absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. Next up, let's go with Hanako, shall we? Another rookie here on the card. I think she clearly was the shining of her mini class there
Mm.
with Aya Sakura, even when Aya was still active. And I think she has big potential as one of the big powerhouses on the roster. I think she kind of faded after a while, kind of into the back. So I'm not really willing to go much higher than C for her, just because I would have liked to see a little bit more, but she did have
Yeah.
a nice title match with Rena on
Hmm.
New Blood, which I thought was quite good. Maybe her best singles match to date, which is a credit, seeing she was facing Rena, who's not a long time top of the card veteran.
Mm.
And Rena's going to get a lot of credit, by the way. I'm just going to spoil that now. She had a really good year for someone um, in her realm. But I'm thinking somewhere in C and not much higher. I don't think I could put her over Ami Sarai.
No, look, I would agree with that. Like, it's interesting because you could argue she's done more this year than Yuzuki, but like she came in and she's had long enough for the honeymoon period to wear off, and now she is just one of the rookies on the system, and it's no longer quite as exciting to see her match in, match out. So it's maybe a bit unfair compared to Yuzuki, who's not had that time to lose that luster. But I do agree, like over the course of the time she's been there, she slots into C. Definitely behind Army Saray. I guess it depends how much you value those first couple of Waka months as to whether she's above or below Sukiyama.
100%. Um, so where the hell is she? So we said here? No, no, no. Sorry.
Yeah, I would go there just
Yeah, I
because,
agree.
like, I think Hanako's had a better second half of the year than Waka,
Yep,
but like the first few months for Waka was too important to put over.
absolutely. My apologies. So for the podcast listeners, it is in the C tier. We have Ami Sarai, then Waka Tsukiyama, Hanako, and then Death, Fukigen, Death.
Yes.
Let's go next with Hina. Hina, of course, another one part of the big Queen's Quest match. But otherwise, I think she kind of naturally out of the spotlight showed improvement this year.
Mm, mm,
And that's what you're looking for out of someone. Obviously, she's still doing school. She's, she's still doing the double life. It's not like, Rena's around still a little bit more than Hana's, full time now, in terms of the sisters. But I think Hina's at least showing the potential down the line. I don't know how high I can really go though, because again, there wasn't much there. Like, yes, being in the steel cage match can only go bring you so far. I'm thinking truthfully, like just high D. I can't go much higher. Like, it wasn't a year of like, oh, she had this breakout match in a singles match against Rena. Like, even like Hanako had that. Hina
mm,
didn't have.
mm. Yeah. Hina did her improvement last year. I think 2022 was a fantastic year for her in kind of showing where she can go in the roster, what she's capable of. 2023, I think she just kind of, I don't want to say stagnated because that's the wrong word, but she plateaued a little bit in terms of like the progression and the movement forward. she hasn't had the opportunity to really stand out and show that she's done more either, which is a little tough. Like even in the New Blood shows, like she's not getting prominent spots in that situation. I think High D is the way to go for her. I expect in the next year or two we really see what her future lies, because of the three sisters, like if you told me one of the sisters left wrestling, you would probably assume Hina, and that's not a knock on how good she is. I think she shows good promise in the ring. It's just she's not getting the opportunities like her two sisters, and when she is in the ring, she's gotten better, but she still hasn't. You know, she hasn't improved a lot this year compared to the improvements she made last year.
Absolutely. Sorry, this admittedly while we're recording, there's a Stardom press conference going on, so I'm going in and out. But I think you're absolutely right. I think unfortunately with Hina that is like the case with her.
Mm,
But when I see the improvement like she had this year, it is inviting, it is welcoming, it's what you want to see. But I can't put her much higher. Oh, sorry. This
no,
is
I think that's the right spot.
yeah, it is. Sorry.
Yeah.
So I have two screens going on here, everybody, and things are not going technically well. But thankfully it looks right. That is the right spot for her. Just not a breakout year. Hopefully sooner rather than later she can have at least a big future of
Yeah.
Stardom title match. Next up, let's go with Passion Nanai Takahashi. What a year it's been for Nanai. She started the year as Goddess of Stardom champion with you and having some great tag team matches along the way.
Mm,
Obviously, the one against Maime being the standout. But boy, oh boy, the way they lost the titles was a true heart wrenching one that helped no one
no.
ultimately, as we saw with Mirai and Ami Sarai and what
The
would eventually
crowd
be.
got killed with that
Yeah.
finish. I was in the building for it, and the crowd was hot pretty much the entire show, except for that finish.
And I think when it comes to something like that, it's going to hurt the rating here. I'm just
Mm,
gonna say that right now. However, unlike certain vets, she did continue on, and we got this wonderful development that were passion injection matches. And these ended up inspiring the lower card to have some great breakout moments, specifically Saida being a big one.
mhm.
And I think the passion injection matches really helped raise up a lot of the lower card, actually. Helped Ruaka a lot too.
Yes.
And I think that gives her, you know, the class to go somewhere probably in lowish B range for me. I don't
That's where
think
I was
like
leaning.
okay, cool. I'll let you go on about her, of course, though, because I do think she had a good year, all things considered, as a part timer.
Yeah, look, Nanae Takahashi is a controversial figure when it comes to these kind of things. I think some people just don't like her and aren't willing to appreciate what she does. Like, they see her facing the lower card talent and think she's holding them down, when in actual fact she's forcing them to rise to the occasion. And everyone, I think, except maybe Starlight Kid, because of that was a match. Starlight Kid's kind of above Passion Injection. She shouldn't be losing in that situation. But every other person, I think, benefits from the Passion Injection match. They got forced to step up and do bigger and better things. And I think they've all improved from it. She gave the best matches against for someone like Waka Tsukiyama, Saya Ida, Lady C. And they've all come from that. And I think they're better wrestlers as a result of it. And she took the fall for Waka Tsukiyama. And I think for the flack that she cops, willing to do that kind of thing, I think speaks well to her. And I think, definitely low B. I'd put her above Yuzuki. Don't know if I'd put her above Yuna just because she's a part timer. But yeah, I think she's done a good job. I've been happy with what Nanai's done this year, and I hope she does similar next year. They're setting up things potentially for 2024 that'll be interesting. And it could go really well or it could go really badly depending on some choices that they make. But yeah, 2023 Nanai's done well.
I agree. I think that's a good spot for her. I think her and Yuna are kind of interchangeable. You
Depends
could
what you're
maybe
looking for.
you could side with the accolades, but I would have liked to see her lose more. So I will knock her for that because I have to.
That is everyone's thoughts on Nanai
Yeah, I'm not an
Takahashi.
Anai hater. I'm not an
No,
Anai hater, but I am someone that believes she should lose more.
yeah.
Next up, Momo Kogo. Momo Kogo had a relatively quiet year.
Mm,
And of course, it sadly had to end via injury. It kind of an undisclosed injury. We don't know much about it. She's just been gone for quite a long time.
yeah.
Maybe her biggest, most notable things was being the translator between Mayu Iwatani and Mercedes Monet,
Yeah.
which take that for what you will as your top achievement. But she did get to go to the US and challenge for the Strong Women's Championship. She also got to be in the original bracket where I thought she had
Mhm.
a breakout showing against Willow Nightingale,
Mm.
which I don't think anyone expected. So I will give her a little credit for that as well. But it's just been such a quiet year otherwise.
If Stardom ran America more often, she would be like A tier because she gets a buff whenever she goes international and performs. Unfortunately, they've only done America a couple of times. Yeah, outside of that, she's basically not been there. She had a high speed match against Azumi, which was fine. But outside of that, yeah, look, she was probably busy a bit with the Maya Watani movie as well, but she's been absent. Like the injury situation is sucks, and like Momo Kogo specifically, I think is going to be one of those people who can only do so much because of her health situation. I think it is Graves' disease that she has, which it's going to limit what she can do, and it's very possible that whatever injury she's dealing with is made worse by her situation with that disease. I have to put a D, unfortunately. I just don't think she's done enough to outside of those two little bright spots in America, and they were small spots at that. I can't really put it beyond that.
Where do you want to put her in D?
I would lean below Lady C just because Lady's been consistent throughout the year.
Yeah, Lady only missed a little time as well.
Mm,
So
yeah.
um, not that again, it's hard to I don't want to blame someone for being out of action
No.
necessarily, but it does hurt a wrestler in trying to get big matches, right?
Mm,
Like
yeah.
I think that's very important. And I think ultimately at the end of the day when it comes to Kogo that she has all the potential to be great, right? She has the potential to be great and be someone that I think can be a really good undercard wrestler. I think we
Mm,
see that from her time to time. We've seen it in flashes, and if
yeah.
she can just get a consistent role, I think a faction change would benefit her greatly. I think Stars is very packed
Mm,
and limits opportunities for her. A place like Club Venus or Cosmic Angels maybe be a better fit for her. To just get higher than when I say greatness, I just mean in her role, right? She's
mm.
someone that's very capable in the ring. I think she's probably the best wrestler out of the people in D so far, which is Lady C, her, Hina, and Aya Sakura. I think she's easily the best wrestler. And I think hopefully she can have a better year in the upcoming campaign.
Yeah, we just need like consistency. It's tough because of her injury history and her health. But at the end of the day, when we're trying to do this objectively, we don't want to sort of give her a pity spot in C because you did your best with what opportunities you had, but over the course of a year, it's hard to look at what she's done and really be like, oh yes, she deserves to be in that spot. Um, it's really just the two America shows, and that's not enough, unfortunately, for me.
Absolutely agree. All right. Hmm. Who's next? Shout out Goldberg on that one.
Look, I don't think he did much this year. I wouldn't be putting him high on the list.
I'm excited to. I've left a lot of the heavy hitters. If
Yeah.
anyone's taken notice, I've specifically gone out of my way to do this. So it's time to do another heavy hitter. Let's bring some excitement. Hmm. You know what, Trent? I'll let you pick.
Okay. Um, let's go with. I think this is going to be a really interesting discussion point. Utami Hayashishita. And I'm going to let you start, Scott, because for the podcast listeners who can't get the visual, his head is in his hands and he's r- doubting what's coming next. So kick us off, Scott.
I think Utami Hayashishita at her very best, which we saw in the summer, is the best wrestler in the world. I truly do. I truly think she is that. I saw her in that cage match. It was unbelievable. And then they did this weird thing, right? She went to America for a few shows in GCW. She also came back and returned to form with the long hair and had some good matches
Mm,
in the 5-star, but nothing to the level that I know she's capable of now. And I think that hurts her
mm,
ultimately. Yes, she's the main proponent in the best story of the year, one of the best stories in Stardom's history. She's also the main reasoning of that match being as great as it was. So that's going to help her. I'll tell you that
mm,
right now.
mm,
She also won the tag titles at the end of the year with Saya
mhm,
Kamatani. That's another accolade to help her a lot. Um, she had the great match with Mayu Iwatani for the IWGP Women's title. I think that was her best match post going to America. Um, but, but there was still so much more that I know this year could have been for her. I was sold on her winning the world title at the end of the year. I wanted her to win the world title at the end of the year. We didn't get it, and ultimately, she'd missed time due to injury, and that does take into effect. So I can't even sniff S tier here.
mm,
I can't, which is a shame because she had a year that felt like she'd easily be in that class, but it's just not to be. I think she's low A, truthfully. And it's a lot to do with, not too much going on at the beginning of the year either, right? We that's pretty much everyone with the Triangle Derby. Unless you won the Triangle Derby, you were quiet. Cinderella was nothing. She didn't challenge Utami for the she didn't challenge Julia or Tam for the belt. She didn't
mm.
challenge any of the Wonder champs for the belt. It's low A for me, and I wish she could be much higher.
The biggest question I think you've got to ask is how far back do you carry the Queen's Quest story in this? Because the reality is the story doesn't really work if she had a hot start to 2023. Part of the point of that was she was just kind of ambling around, a bit lost in the woods while her partners were off doing bigger and better things. So do you sort of say, oh, well, January, February, March, April, like that's all necessary to give us the story that we got heading into the end of June? If you count that, then you can kind of accept the slow start to the year. The injury came at the worst possible time. The 5-star Grand Prix was good showing, but I do agree, like, she wasn't even though, like, both of us were kind of expecting her to win at the start of the tournament, she didn't necessarily stand out the time that she was in the tournament compared to some of the other wrestlers. I really liked to finish to the year. The Queen's Quest kind of epilogue was really good. It comes down to how much weight do you put on those couple of months with the Queen's Quest story. And I rate it really highly because it is match of the year. It's Stardom's best ever story, in my opinion, and Utami was so integral to that. I lean low A, high B with everything considered. The fact that she had a title at the end of it, she had the IWGP Women's Championship match contest as well. I'm willing to go with you on a low A, but I think she's the lowest of the A's.
Yeah, which is
And
pretty
look, part of
crazy.
that is also personal bias, if I'm being honest. If I wasn't as big a fan of her, I'd probably be saying low B, high B.
That's right, folks. She is behind Azmi and Megan
Mm-hmm.
Bain. Despite the story of the year, the moment of the year, the match of the year, I think that's the right place for her. I think this is a very fair rating
And
for
Waka only got to mid C with her story, so that alone gives you an idea.
well, that wasn't the story of the year, now was it? Let's go my Sakurai, shall we?
Yep,
I think my
this is going to be
Sakurai
a
has a
fun one.
very interesting case to get a
Yes.
lot higher than maybe her role actually is. So one, she has the accolade of being in the finals of the Cinderella tournament.
Yep. Yep.
She also has the accolade of holding the Artist of Stardom Championships for a good quality amount of time.
Over half the year.
Um, yeah, she's been a key competitor on New blood, but most
Mhm.
importantly, my Sakurai has found herself a character, folks. And it is a character that is very entertaining, very much over with the
Mhm.
domestic crowd, and one that I think has brought her to a much higher level than I would have expected at the beginning of the year.
She also won the Gold Rush tournament. We've got to give her that tip of the very large hat to as well. Um, she got an escargot chant going in Kurroken Hall. And for that, she gets an S in this tier list. No?
No,
No? Okay. Okay.
no.
It was worth a shot. Yeah, her character work this year has just gone above and beyond. She's the most interesting character in Stardom. Maybe not the best like overall personality, but she's committed to this gimmick 110%. When it started, like the foreign fan base were all kind of looking at each other going, what is this? And I think, to speak of how good it is, not only did the domestic crowd buy into it from the start, and they absolutely love what she's doing. By the end of the year, so is the foreign fan base. Everyone is all in on the Mai Sakurai gimmick. Now, is it a gimmick that's going to lead her to the World of Stardom Championship? Probably not. And her in-ring performance, whilst has definitely improved, hasn't improved to the level it did in 2022. She made her big in-ring leap in 2022. She's made her big character leap in 2023, which makes it difficult to rate because, like, if she'd combine it all in 1 year, she'd be, most improved comfortably and she'd get that extra bounce. I would give her, given her place on the card, the effort she's been putting in, a low B.
I'm going to agree with you. I think she's earned it. I think she is someone who gets I hmm,
She got
hmm.
an escargot chant above Nanai.
I think I'm putting her above Yuna too.
Yeah,
She's
yeah,
out of the
I'm fair
lower
with
card
that.
people.
Yep.
I think she's definitely been above and beyond. Look
Mm.
at my Sakurai, huh? How about that? And she has the accolades to back it up too.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
um,
Yeah.
that's
She's
great.
done really well this year. I've been, yeah. Every year she's improved in a way where I'm like, good on you, because I keep looking back to those first few months with her and Cosmic Angels, looking like a stunned mullet, struggling in the ring. Just everyone was kind of going, oh no, this is the first big whiff Stardom have had. Rossi knows. He knows better than we do because he put faith in Mai Sakurai, and look at what she's doing now. She's getting deals with restaurants and doing all this amazing stuff. Good on her.
She is one of a kind, right?
Yes. She is
Shout out
Rob Van
RVD.
Dam.
But next up, we are going to go with. I always have I have just as much fun with like picking
Mhm.
them. I don't know about you, but
Well,
I
I
think
only
it's
picked
always
once.
yeah. But you get to wait for me to pick. But you know what? I'll let you pick again. I'll let you
Yeah,
pick again.
I knew that was coming as soon as
I
I
feel
said that.
attacked. I feel
Yeah,
attacked. So,
yeah.
who do you want?
I'm looking. There's a lot of arms in the air in these photos.
There
So we're
are.
going to go Mina Shirakawa.
Ooh, that's a spicy one. Oh, there's a lot to talk about with Mina Shirakawa. Mina. What a start to the year, right? All
Mm,
roads lead to All Star Grand Queendom, the biggest show ever. Her challenging for the Wonder of Stardom Championship, but not only challenging for the Wonder of Stardom Championship, she's challenging the most dominant, arguably the greatest Wonder of Stardom champion in history, Saya Kamatani. That's no easy feat. And not only does she challenge, she wins. She
mhm.
wins the match in what many believe to be the match of the night of the best show of the year. I think that is something to be said. That's a point. You get a
Yes.
point for that, you know? She had the match of her career in the biggest match
Mhm.
of her career. She would
Yep.
then go on to defend against Natsupoi in one of my favorite matches of the year. Truly an underappreciated match, I think, on the Stardom schedule by many. I thought it was fantastic. Brought out all the emotion and really, to me, proved that Mina Shirakawa should be Wonder of Stardom champion longer. And
Mm.
then Tam Nakano ruined that by defeating her for the Wonder of Stardom Championship 1 month later, becoming a double champion and leaving Mina and her fans with many questions. Of course, soon after that, She'd win the Goddess of Stardom tag team titles with Mariah May as Rose Gold and have a fun little run there before dropping those as well. And she'd have a 5-star Grand Prix where she entered the final night in contention to make it to
Mm.
the finals, which I think is, of course, noteworthy. And she had some great matches throughout that tournament. And then after that, boy, oh boy, did it slow down from there. And of course, we ended the year with her losing to Nanae Takahashi. I saw people saying she should go to AEW. I saw people saying she needs to leave. And I was like, wow, I've never actually seen this with like Stardom where like people are mad with someone's booking. So they're like booking them to go somewhere else. I was like, that happens like every other company. I've never seen that here.
That happens
But
with
that is the
Momo Watanabe. She's the big draw
oh,
card for
that's
that
true.
she needs to get booked elsewhere. But
That's
Mina
true.
Mina took over that for a little bit.
Mina took that over. But Mina had a great year in every spot she was in, she delivered.
It's
And
tough because both championship reigns didn't last long, but they were championship reigns. And she had good matches in those championship reigns. You know, the 3 matches she had with the white belt on the line, winning it against Natsupoi, losing it to Tam, were all really good. And I was worried about that double title match because in the past she's had a questionable match with Tam at the Spotlight. Her Goddess run, the match to win it was fine. It was probably the best of the New Era's run. And then, you know, I thought they did a really good job with the titles. It's just, yeah. The other thing to point out is she did essentially form Club Venus this year. Yeah, it technically came in December 29 last year, but for all intents and purposes, she formed it this year. And it was a faction that was putting a lot of questions on her because a lot of the faction were foreigners. They were imports. They were coming in and out. She didn't have the consistency necessarily. I thought she did a really good job in that role. You can see the impact she had on Mariah May just on how May speaks about her after, now that she's left for AEW, like she speaks so highly of what she did for her. For all of that, I want to rate her very highly because I think every time she got the opportunity, she did really well. And when she failed, it wasn't her fault. It was booking, or it was just everyone being injured. There wasn't a lot for her to do. I think looking at like the point of comparison for me is Utami Hayashishita. Utami had higher highs. I think Mina was maybe stronger throughout the whole year.
did Utami have higher highs? This is the woman that won the Wonder of Stardom Championship at the biggest show of the year.
Yeah, but match of the year, story of the year, both go to Utami. And I guess I
That's
would
true.
lean towards that being just it's very close. It's very close, but I would
But she
lean to
was
that.
active all year as well, Mina.
Yeah, see, that's the
She
big
missed
kicker.
time.
Yeah. Utami probably
I have
missed
her
enough
over.
time.
I will say that I think she should be over both Utami and Megan Bain at least.
And Megan Bain. I'll give you that because I
Megan
don't feel
Bain was
strongly
only here
enough
for
that
5
she
months.
doesn't. Yeah. I think because
Look at that.
Mina, I thought, did a really good job through the latter half of the year. Just while the wheels were turning, nothing was really happening. But like she was always putting in the effort, putting on a good showing at the house show circuit.
Mhm.
So I think she's earned that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think once a few more wrestlers come in, she won't be second on A tier.
Yeah. Pretty crazy. I think she if she gets 2 more defenses in, she's probably S tier, truthfully.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, but that did not happen. 2 more defenses between the 2 title reigns even. I'm not even saying it's just the wonder. But nonetheless, we're at over an hour here, folks. This will be our longest podcast episode to date,
Yep.
and that was the plan. Let's go with Saki Kashima, shall we? Saki Kashima won her first ever singles title in her
Yes.
career by winning the high speed championship. Her reign, not necessarily anything to write home about, but it was about the moment of her finally getting that. She also got booted out of Oedo Tai by being the final person left in that cage when Utami and Saya celebrated. She would go on to join God's Eye, a perfect fit, I'd
Yes.
say, and adding much needed personality to that group. Wasaki Kashima was the ultimate role player, the ultimate sixth man almost for Stardom. You need to plug her in. I thought she had a better year in ring wise in 2022, just with the trios run. and whatnot. But in terms of moments for her and accolades, this was really good. Unfortunately, as per usual with Saki, just because this is something that happens almost yearly, she did suffer an injury, but not too
Mhm.
long. She wasn't
No.
out for too long. She had one of these shorter injuries. Um, I think she did the best she could. If I had to say, it'd be lower B, probably higher C between those two, because even though she did win the high speed title, um, I don't think that reign was necessarily worthy to live up. But she did have the fun little story with May Sarah of never giving her the match, so that was fun. I will
Yeah.
give her that credit.
Yeah, like that the Saki Kashima stories were fantastic. You know, getting to the high speed championship, winning that, the emotional moment with Rossi, and kind of the capitulation of that story. The story with May Sarah, the story of getting booted from Oedo Tai, joining God's Eye, even the story with Konami kind of side eyeing her and not feeling she was worthy of the group. All the story stuff was fantastic. In ring, yeah, 2022 was far better. I thought once she won the title, she leaned too much into her gimmick and it affected the quality of the matches. I was really looking forward to her reign, but ultimately it did disappoint me. I would have put her in the highest spot in C tier, personally.
I think that's fair. I think that's fair. Um, trying to find the damn thing. I have the mouse on the screen where we're streaming and not the tier list. So I'm like, why is it not clicking? Look at God's eye, getting comfortable in C tier. Uh,
Hopefully that
let's
changes a little bit.
well, we'll see now, won't we?
Mm.
All right, let's see. Let's go with Tekla, shall we?
Yep.
Tekla has the artist brain, obviously, to her name, but otherwise a very underwhelming year for
Mm.
the Toxic Spider. One that has left fans again bringing up the idea that maybe she should go find some new horizons because they feel she should be pushed because she does bring a star look. Obviously, she looks like a star. She's very capable in the ring, but she's pretty much the fourth member of DDM, right? She has
Yeah.
fallen down behind my Sakurai. But even so, when she got her big chance, I think, to have a big signature match against May Sarah, I thought she came up short a
Mm.
bit. And I think that does hurt her. I'm not going higher than C, I'll tell you that. I think she's lower than probably everyone, but I think she's in the maybe above Waka, just because of the title reign and the length and whatnot, and that helps her. And Mafia Bella had a pretty good little run in tag league.
Basically, when she got opportunities outside of singles matches, I thought she did really well. Mafia Bell in the tag tournament was a lot of fun. She's done well in the trios tournament, the trios title reign. She's done well there, and I think the length of that title reign puts her above Waka Tsukiyama, just taking in terms of accomplishments. But yeah, whenever I want her to do better than she is, and I would like to see her get more opportunities. But the the match against May for the high speed title, we talked about it before the match started. She needs to do well here, and it wasn't a match that delivered. I don't know whether she kind of needs Julia to step away from the other titles she's got and have a Mafia Bella tag run, like a focused tag run, to
Mm.
really give her those reps in important matches without kind of hanging her out to dry in singles matches. But yeah, I'm not overly impressed with her and compared to a lot of the roster in terms of taking advantage of those opportunities. I would put her above Waka, but I wouldn't put her above Amy Sarai.
So for people at home, here's the updated people at home. Everyone's hopefully at home. If you're
Hey,
not
they
listening
could
to
be
this at
on the
home,
road.
that's true. That's when I listen to podcasts. So
Yeah.
for everyone listening and not watching, here's your list so far. In S tier, we have Julia. In A tier, in order, we have Azumi, Mina Shirakawa, Megan Bain, and Utami Hayashishita. In B tier, we have Hameka, Mai Sakurai, Yuna Mizumori, Nai Takahashi, and Yuzuki. What a wild.
Imagine
In
that as a
C,
faction.
I know. Yeah, well, no. In C tier, the leader Suzuki. The In C tier, we got Saki Kashima, Ami Sarai, Tekla, Waka Tsukiyama, Hanako, and Fukigen Death. And then in D tier, we got Lady C, Momokogo, Hina, and Aya Sakura. But boy, oh boy, do we have some big ones left here to go through.
Mhm.
So without further ado, let's knock out another big name, shall we?
Let's do it.
Saori no. Maybe one of maybe the biggest here. And I'm just going to start off by saying S tier. I'm not.
Really?
So here's what Saori no has done this year. She won the Artist of Stardom championships in her
Yes.
first match back at Stardom. She won the Goddess of Stardom championships in her first opportunity for those belts. She won the Wonder of Stardom championship to close out the year, and she's been a key contributor up and down cards the entire year. She's been one of the MVPs, I think, in Joshi as a whole, because she does wrestle outside of Stardom, of course. She is someone that I have nominated or did have nominated. I don't know when the awards are going to close, but she is nominated for Wrestler of the Year for a reason. I think she had great matches. It depends how you feel about the last Mirai match. I think that might change how certain people pick here. But ultimately, those last couple minutes, especially, were beyond exciting. And she ultimately was able to win the title, something that at the beginning of the year, she wasn't even in the company. And by the end of the year, she's holding the second top belt in the company. That speaks to what she's able to do. I thought she had a great 5-star Grand Prix run, including the great match with Julia to kick it all off. That was an absolute crazy battle. I thought she had one of the best tag team matches of the year when she teamed with Natsupoi against Crazy Star. I think her match against Rose Gold was also great. Now that title reign prematurely ended, and the artist belt reign also did not go long. However, her key, every time she showed up, every time she was on a house show or a Korakuen or a pay-per-view, more often than not, she delivered. I wouldn't put her ahead of Julia. I would, and I would understand if we think even high A above Azumi, but I will not let her fall much lower because she has checked off so many boxes this year in such an unpredictable time. Like no one saw it coming. And if she was the trade we made with Kyrie leaving, it was a trade worth taking.
The Kyrie situation is why that artist title was so short lived. That whole her artist run was born out of someone leaving a promotion and dropped because someone was leaving a promotion. It's a very fascinating title reign. Look, my initial thoughts was high A. I think because I don't think she necessarily felt like the biggest deal in Stardom at any one time. And I do take that into account for S tier. She's always kind of been on that second row in terms of importance for whenever she was involved. Like the white belt matches against Mariah, they were both the second tier situation. The tag title match was obviously really good, but I felt like they didn't necessarily get the chance to, again, prematurely losing the title because of injury and not her injury. But I do think the way that title kind of just phased out affected her as well. But she has definitely delivered. She's done a lot of really good things with Stardom this year. My
She's part of
inclination's
the work
high,
rate
but
Angels, baby.
I'm
She
willing to
saved the
go
Angels.
low S for you in this situation.
All
But
right.
depending how it looks, I might bump it down. But yeah, for now, I'll give you S.
I gave her the advantage. So this is where my house show advantage came
Yes, yes.
for my rating. As someone that watches a lot of the house show matches, because I'm a psycho, uh, when she first joined Cosmic Angels, those were the best matches on the show each and every time. She worked great with Tam Yuna
Mm.
and Natsupoi. Like it was easy for her. And her efforts were always appreciated on those. So that's kind of why I want to give her the slight nudge to S, but she's definitely
Mhm.
someone that I could see maybe going to high A, depending how this goes the rest of
Yeah,
the way. But she was a fun one to go over because I knew we'd have probably just a little debate there.
yeah.
um, let's talk about Ruaka. Um, another down year for Ruaka. Not the passion injection match was good, and I wish we got more of BMI 2000 because I thought she
Yes.
was really breaking out alongside Natsuko. She had that was that tag match this year? Yes, it was,
Yeah, she had the Goddess of Stardom title match to pretty much kick the year off.
and that was
And it
really
was,
good.
yeah, yeah. I whenever she's kind of had a chance to spotlight against the right people, I've really enjoyed her, but that's been very few and far between. And it's
Yeah,
kind of a classic case of there have been openings in the roster with the injuries, and I don't think she stepped up to say, "Hey, I'm here. I'm ready to go." I think other people did that more than she did, to the point where it is a little bit disappointing. Like I thought she did really well last year. I think she's been okay with sparks of good this year, but that hurts in the long run.
yeah. I would put her over Fukigen
Yeah,
and
for sure.
Hanako. I actually
Yep.
put her over Hanako too.
Yep.
I don't know. I think Waka's story just gives her the advantage there. But
Waka's
Ruaka's some
story is better than anything Ruaka had going this year.
I would just like to see Ruaka get more of a chance because I think she's good. Like
Mm,
I think she's ready to at least get something. I'm not saying give her a Wonder of Stardom title match. I'm just saying give her something. Because her team with Natsuko is really what brought Natsuko back, I
yeah.
thought.
Yeah.
So hopefully she gets a little bit more. I'd love to see young OED team up a little bit more. I think
Mhm.
they're great. They obviously had that great match. Was it last year? Against my Hime Poi at the beginning of the year, 2022. I think it was
Yeah.
maybe, and that was great. So I hope Ruaka can get a little more in the new year. Not her fault. She got an opportunity. She
Mm.
delivered. I thought. So that's C tier. Goes Saki Kashima, Ami Sarai, Tekla, Waka Tsukiyama, Ruaka, Hanako, and Fukigen Death. I have no idea why Fukigen Death is even there. It kills me every
She
time.
might drop the D. Well,
Yeah,
Waka's like couple of months of story is the litmus test for that C tier.
it
You know,
really
can
is.
you beat that couple of months?
I think I'm gonna make a choice here. I'm gonna move Fukigen down.
Yeah.
I just don't think she did enough, and she wasn't even in the big wait of time match. So it's like,
Yeah, Ruaka at least gets that bump.
yeah, we got a lot. We got. I've left so many. I've left pretty much every interesting conversation left here, and we're already an hour and a half in. Oh boy. All right, let's do Hazuki next. I
Yep.
think Hazuki's a good one to do next. Hazuki has one of the best matches of the year in
Mhm.
Stardom against Saya Kamatani. She is the best at creating doubt. And when I say creating doubt, I mean making people believe that she can win.
Yeah.
One of the very best. She almost never does. But man, oh man, do you get on the edge of your seat thinking she will? Obviously, FWC before Koguma got injured were great in
Mhm.
the tag league. It wasn't a long tag league that they had, but it was a great one. She had a great 5-star run once again. Um, and you want to talk about house show MVPs? She's getting extra points for that. Doesn't matter where she is on the card, she's always delivering. The accolades, however, were not on
No.
her side this year, and that's where she really gets hurt. Um, I can't put her below Yuna Mizumori though. I
No,
can't.
no, no, no.
I can't.
I would give her top of B.
Okay.
Um, because for the entire year she's been delivering. She hasn't
Yes.
been given the opportunities, and she never had like the, I guess, focal point highs of like Himeka, who had the retirement stuff. Hazuki's high point was the Wonder of Stardom Championship match against Saya Kamatani, but that was like a singular moment. It wasn't the build, it wasn't the sort of story around it. It was purely just they went in there and delivered an absolute banger and a half. But I think her consistent work throughout the year, her fantastic 5-star Grand Prix, she's kind of the standard bearer for you need to be at least this good in the ring to really prepare yourself for the very pinnacle of the Stardom roster. So for that kind of work and the week in week out on the house shows, I think she deserves for the entire year, especially. I think she deserves top of B, but without any. I think if you're going to make A class, you have to have had some accolades of some sort.
I agree. And I wish she did.
Mm,
I really wish she did, but If she's not the best house show performer, she is top 3. You know, like, she is just unbelievably consistent,
Top
and
three,
that's
and
pretty
she's
much
not three.
that really is the highest you can get without an accolade or more big
Yep.
matches or something. Everyone or story of the year, like, just looking at who's above.
Yeah. B tier
So,
stands for belt, as in you need one to get above this.
I hope Hazuki's higher one day. Let's go with her tag team partner, Koguma. I'll
Yep.
let you kick that one off.
Koguma was, if I'm being honest, an interesting one, because when we did this tier list, I was like, does this look good? And Scott said, yeah. And I got to today, I'm sort of preparing like notes on what everyone did and what their accolades were. And I did the thing, and I looked at it, I'm like, I'm missing someone. I didn't have Koguma on this list at all. I don't know what happened. I think when I was getting the photos, I've downloaded her photo from Stardom before, so I don't need to download, and then it just didn't get into the system. But it does kind of speak to her year. She's kind of just been invisible. Doesn't help that she's been out with injury for the past couple of months as well. But you look at like her accolades. She challenged for the high speed title. She challenged for the Goddess of Stardom title. That's it. She didn't make the 5-star Grand Prix. I don't like her pinnacle. Her biggest moment was probably the cage match she had for the artist titles, where she jumped off the top like she does in cage matches. But like there wasn't really a standout moment for her, and even like the comedic stuff, she didn't necessarily get a chance to shine there either compared to previous years.
I was thinking high D.
I hate to say it because she's far better than that, but given her, that's kind of the thing. Given her role, I feel like there should be more from her.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's the first big drop.
Hmm.
Maybe in like overall talent to where they are.
Yeah.
Because I think Koguma should be like a consistent B tier.
Yeah.
And she just her efforts aren't always there anymore. And she's banged up now. That doesn't help her. And
Hmm.
tag leagues where she gets to rise her stock a little bit,
Yeah.
right? Every year,
Yeah.
FWC goes all out. That's when she pretty much saves all of her trials for, and her not being around, it really hurts. And she dropped down in stars too. She's not the
Mm.
top 3 anymore. She is now below Hana, and it's very noticeable. Um, but nonetheless,
Hopefully 2024 brings more, like maybe the time away gives her a bit of reinvigoration. She comes back with a bang. Like coming back, as long as she doesn't come back at the same time as a Tam on Natsupoi, she can kind of get a bit of spotlight from that, and that might help catapult her into a stronger 2024. Yeah, her position on this tier list is not based on her talent. It's
not at
almost
all.
in spite of her talent. That's why she's
She's
down
so
as high
good.
as
She should be
yeah,
so much higher.
yeah.
So she takes up the top spot in the D tier.
Hmm.
Next up, we got Saya Ida. Maybe the opposite of Koguma this
Yes.
year. You want to talk about someone that gives it her all every single time out there,
Mm.
especially in the second half of the year.
Yeah.
She has one of the signature matches in the history of New Blood against Nanae Takahashi. I think the best passion injection match. I thought she was just phenomenal in that match, and that crowd was eating up the possibility of her winning. She didn't get it, but she does have an accolade for once.
Hmm.
She's a new blood champion alongside Hanan,
Yep.
and they have been really good champions. That I love the match where they won the belts and the
Mm, mm.
three-way new blood. Also, one of the best new blood matches so far in the show's short history. Ida's done the most in her role. Like if there's like we were talking about my Sakurai, how she's done the most in her role. Ida's gone above and beyond, and she has the match quality aspect too that I think benefits her a lot. I'm going one of the higher B tier, I think, for Ida.
Yeah, this is kind of, as you said, the inverse of Koguma, someone who doesn't have the position on the card, but is kind of forced to weigh in. And where I was sort of talking about with Ruaka, with the injury, she didn't step up. I think
Yeah.
Saito almost saw the injuries coming and was like, okay, this is my opportunity to remind everyone. Because you look back at when she was the Future Stardom champion, there was a lot of hype surrounding her. She's doing a lot of good things. And that injury completely derailed her run. And I think now in the second half of 2023, we're seeing her get back to that level of interest and hype. And we're starting to see her get a few more opportunities to shine, whether it's in New Blood with the tag title run, whether it's just maybe getting slightly higher profile situations on the main roster stuff as well. She's done fantastic. I guess for me, it's does she go above or below Mai Sakurai? And probably comes down to do you value character work over in-ring work in that situation. Mai, maybe because she has the higher accolade with the artist titles, but it's very much a personal preference thing with those two.
I'd put her over just because I'm always on the in-ring side of
Yeah.
things, and I have more memories of her this year, even with the accolades that my Sakurai has.
Hmm.
I think Ida's second half has just been so strong. Like my
Yeah.
Sakurai, she didn't get hurt, but she took off 2 months.
Yeah.
That's also worth noting, and I think that is
She had to go to France. She had to
yeah.
earn
I mean,
her
don't get
euros.
me don't get me wrong. She came back with the sickest look ever, like the jacket, and but I think I want to put Ida over that, and I think she
Yep.
deserves that. I think Hameka, she almost beats Hameka, but Hameka's year, like the part she was here for, was so
Yeah.
great that it's hard to uh take
And
that down.
Sai didn't have the moments throughout the year. She's very much a second half riser.
Yeah.
So to
So
me,
it's
you're
it's
kind of
similar
comparing
to
like for like.
Hameka.
Yeah. And
Absolutely.
Hameka's highs were just so much higher.
Let's oh my god, I really left like a lot of big names. Let's do Natsuko Tora.
Mhm.
Natsuko Tora had a very interesting year, I'd say. She steamrolled the 5-star Grand Prix. Kind of hurting the tournament by being so dominant, but that is almost as good an accolade as anything, right? I think she is someone who deserves a lot of respect for the work she's put in. I thought,
Mm.
while I wasn't the biggest fan of her World of Stardom title match against Tam, she got herself to a point where she deserved that title match.
Yes.
Like, and I think that's this was a year of redemption for Natsuko Tora. She was a key part of that story too. The story
Hmm.
of the year, folks.
Can't happen without her.
No, it does not. She was great in that match, right? It was
Hmm.
the tale of two leaders, her deciding to leave rather than back up the rest of her team, and that's ultimately what led to Saki Kashima's exit. And then she had the great tag title match to end the year, of
Yeah.
course. I really liked her and Momo together. They weren't supposed to team in
Mm.
tag league, but due to injuries, they did, and they made the best out of it. I thought they were one of the better teams in the tournament. And then, of course, they get the big title match at the end of the year. And what was the culmination of what was already a great story in many ways, right? Them both getting pinned. Sometimes being the heel, you have to do those types of things to make
Yes.
for better moments. And I thought Tora played her part to perfection for much of the year. I give her all the credit in the world. And I think she's someone that deserves a lot of respect for what she did this year.
If you took out that World of Stardom Championship match, I would be singing her praises to the hills. Unfortunately, that was a real like she absolutely earned that opportunity. I'm glad she got it. But boy, was it like when that match finished, and not just for the injury stuff that came out afterwards. That match just felt like such a letdown because it was her chance to really say her character work is main event level. If you could take that character that she's got and that aura that she has, especially when she's kicking into high gear, if you could put that in someone who you could consistently trust in the main event scene, you've got a tremendous top heel to work with. Unfortunately, the match against Tam just left so much to be desired. And we come back to like, can you trust her to be in that situation? Or is she forever just going to be a tag wrestler who just is antagonistic? Now, that's a good little spot, but I see the character work she does, and I want her to be in that main event role. She had a really good year though, like as you said, consistently doing really good things. The obviously the story work around her, she's up to game as a wrestler. I would be putting her in the B tier. Probably below Himeka personally. And unfortunately, so much of that is down to that championship match because that could have been a game changer. But I see her now as a Himeka who is a tag wrestler, and Himeka just was more exciting throughout the year for me, even going through to just the end of May.
So here's where I will actually fight back.
Okay, bring it.
We talked about with Utami, right? Story of the year, match of the year.
Yep,
Natsuko Tora gets a lot of respect for that. And I
she
think
does.
to me, she deserves that prestige. She wrestled the entire year.
Yes.
I want to push that forward, which is why I
Yep.
think I'm just going to give her the slight edge over Hameka.
Yep.
I think you're right though. That's kind of her role, is a Hameka role ultimately. But her importance again in that middle of the year, what's supposed to be a lull in Stardom wasn't.
Yeah.
And her character work was so great through that, and being the one that challenged Utami to rise up. Like I favor her over Hameka. I know why you favor over Hameka. We don't have a third person to decide here. But
I will
I
give
just
you. I will give you this.
okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. If
I,
you said
I
no,
was a
then
bit
I would have
when you
accepted it.
said you're going to fight back. I thought you might have been saying above Hazuki or into low 80, and I
Oh,
would
no,
have
no,
pushed
no, 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 no.
that. But for the full year situation, yeah, I guess the big thing for me is like, could you remove Natsuko Tora from that story and would it work? I would say yes, because I think Momo Watanabe could fill that spot. However, it wouldn't be as good because Natsuko Tora plays that role so well. And
Yeah.
this is difficult to say because we're not Japanese speakers, we're not native to the language, so we can only go off impressions and the subtitles and stuff. I think she's the best mic worker in Stardom for
I
developing
agree.
and pushing stories. I think she's the best on the mic at that, which brought so much to that story. But unfortunately, the in-ring work was a little sketchy. There was high moments, there was low moments. So compared to a consistent workhorse like Azuki, and no accolades to show, so she can't go above B. Yeah.
Yeah. B tier is as follows. We have Hazuki, Natsuko Tora, Hameka, Saida, Mai Sakurai, Yuna Mizumori, Nanai Takahashi, and Yuzuki, which pops me every single time. 6 matches. Yeah, she's better than all these people. I agree. All right. We have a lot of more heavy hitters here. Let's go with Miyu Amasaki. I think Miyu Amasaki is a very interesting case this year. Obviously, no accolades.
Yes.
But tons of improvement.
Mm-hmm.
And this is someone that was coming into the new year where I think a lot of people were like, oh, I don't know about this one. They're like, I think a lot of people were counting her out. They said,
Yeah.
you know what? I don't know if she has it. And she's in a group where it's really hard to develop not a confidence, because a lot of them are confident in Queen's Quest, but a more than just like this deer staring into the headlights persona that she had for so long. And I don't think and she's gotten rid of that. And I give her a lot of credit. I'm not saying we're putting her in B tier or anything, obviously, but I've seen her have some solid matches. I've seen her just get better, and that's what I'm looking for out of her. That's what I was
Yeah.
looking for out of her the whole year.
Mm.
And that's what you want out of someone who came into the year without a full year in pro wrestling. I think that's just like the best way to sell it. If you want to keep making the joke, she was in the Queen's Quest Soweto tie match of the year.
We're running out of those jokes, unfortunately.
Yeah, we're almost all out, but she was in that, of course. And I just think she's somewhere in C tier for
Yes.
me. I definitely think she overachieved in what was a pretty minimal role, which is why she benefited. I think her tag team with Azumi is actually a really solid one. They were part of that really good New Blood main event. So
Yeah.
I like Amasaki. I think she's getting better and better, and I'm excited for her in 2024 more than anything else.
She's had the chance now to grow organically. And like that was the biggest issue when she first debuted. She was given a certain level of hype and pomp and circumstance that was asking too much of her, because the last time we saw that was in Utami. And like the way they built her up was basically she was getting compared to that, and that was not fair. She's taken a little bit longer to develop, taken a little bit longer to get the confidence. But I do agree, especially through the second half of the year, you're starting to see that really coming together. And heading into 2024, it's going to be a very interesting year for her. That being said, I think she hasn't necessarily stood out that much over the course of the year. It's been good. She's had a chance to grow and develop, but it also means she hasn't necessarily stood out and done a lot of impactful things. I think C
Yeah.
tier is fair. The question is whereabouts in C tier. I would probably put her between Tekla and Waka personally.
Okay.
Waka, I think, yeah, Mia's had a stronger overall year than Waka, but I think the lack of accolades compared to a Tekla, that kind of is another little mini barrier. If you don't have an accolade, but you're in C tier, you've got to have done something to get past her, basically.
I think that is a perfect spot for her. We move forward now here. Oh. Who do I want to pick? Let's go with Rena. Let's
Yep.
finish up the younger crew here. Rena exceeded every expectation.
Mm-hmm.
She won the Future Stardom Championship long before I thought they would have her win
Yep.
the Future Stardom Championship.
Hardly anyone expected her to win that match against Ami Sarai. And it was a great moment because it was so unexpected.
Oh, I mean, she won with the hydrangea. Yeah, tears down the eyes, folks. Like I was like, oh, just take it away. You know, I was like, oh, this is. And she's had some really solid defenses for her experience level and the spot. Right, they're not just having her defend the belt; they're having her main event with the belt, and that is asking a lot of someone who just turned 17 years old. Yes, you heard that correctly. She is one of the true potential main event stars of this company 5 years down the line. 5 might be too early. I don't know. She would only be 22 by then. But
Hey, we're seeing 21-year-olds in the main event.
yeah, that's true. That's true. She also did a great job at the Hana Kimura show, Pinks. I know that's like not in the Stardom realm, but you know what? Screw you. It is in the Stardom realm. There's all these Stardom wrestlers. Hana Kimura was a Stardom wrestler. She walked in there with the future Stardom Championship. Again, emotion everywhere. I think she absolutely played the highest level she could have, truthfully. And here comes the joke. She was in the Queen's Quest Oedo Tai Steel Cage match.
Yay! That's not getting tired at all.
No, not at
Yeah,
all. She 232 days, by the way, as champion.
it's been a good reign. It's been a long reign. It's been a chunky reign, and the matches have generally been pretty good. Like, not necessarily doesn't level up to her older sister Hanan's reign in terms of match quality, but I also don't think anyone was expecting her to be delivering that because of the three sisters, she's been the better character worker, maybe the weakest in ring worker, especially now that Ina's sort of stepped up her game. She's taken every opportunity and really shone with it. I would put her in B tier. It just comes down to how much you value the future of Stardom title and the new blood runs versus people who are maybe delivering more consistently on the bigger stages.
Yeah.
It would be low B tier for me.
She has the 4th longest reign of the title. Now, the title
Yeah.
doesn't have a long history, but that's notable. The only people
Yeah.
above her are, mind you, Utami Hayashishita, Starlight Kid, and Hana.
And she's
That's it.
very close to overtaking Starlight Kid too. Very real chance she beats that record for get number
She's
3.
close to taking Starlight Kids and
Yeah.
Hana's.
Yeah.
Which is if she does that, oh my god. And she beat Ami Saray, which I think is obviously a big accomplishment. She
Yeah.
beat someone that was in the 5-star Grand Prix.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think I'm putting her above Yuna Mizumori.
That was where I was thinking. Yeah, I think that's fair.
Look at that. Let's see. B tier is as follows: Hazuki, Natsuka, Tora, Hameka, Saida, Mai Sakurai, Rina, Yuna Mizumori, Nanai Takahashi, and Yuzuki. I think that's a running joke of the show.
She's not allowed to leave that spot. We're not dropping her.
All right, folks. From here on out, it is going to be a interesting conversation. Forever. Yes. I think it's been mostly an interesting conversation for the hour and 49 minutes we've been going. But
I've been an interesting conversation.
I've purposely saved pretty much all of these wrestlers for the end. And let's go with Mariah May.
Yes.
Mariah May, it's well documented by now. I like if you watch one AEW broadcast, you know that she was in Stardom. But if you watch Stardom, you know that she had 99 matches. She won the Goddess of Stardom tag team titles. She had breakout performances in the 5-star Grand Prix. She got better and better and better and better and became one of, if not the best foreigners to wrestle in Stardom. And it took her just 9 months to do so. She is one of the few that she went to Stardom to get better. She
Mm,
has said this on podcasts. She has said this to the world. She went there to get better. She knew why she was going. She decided in her first week there, I'm staying. And I think that is something I greatly respect.
yeah.
She wasn't there just to say, "Oh, I was in Stardom." Now,
Mm,
don't get me wrong, her character says that a lot now. But if you listen to her and how genuine she is on Talk is Jericho, on the AEW Unrestricted podcast, and how much she loved her time in Stardom and the relationships she created, it's all just a big credit to what she did. And if we're putting Megan Bain in A, we're comfortably putting Mariah May in A.
I was wondering where you were thinking, because
I
yeah, I
can't
think
put her
she's
above Mina though.
well. See, here's the thing: like with Mariah May, she's done a fantastic job. It's tough though because there were zero expectations on her starting the year, and she improved, and she absolutely deserves that. But it's tough to sort of work out where on the list she maybe should belong because she was such an unknown quantity heading in, and coming out of it, like she did really well, but her only accolade is really that very brief tag run with Mina Shirakawa. So where on that A list you're putting her, I would be bottom of A. I wouldn't have her above Utami. Um, I think she gets into A tier because of the hard work she put in and how well she fit in with the roster. It's just a shame we didn't get to have a full year with her because I think she was really starting, like when she left was when she'd really started to unlock everything. And if there's another 6 months there, I think she would have had a chance to really showcase herself and probably would have had a longer tag run too as a result.
So you think Megan Baines had a better run in Stardom than Mariah May?
When you're taking into account accolades, yes. Megan Bain won the
She
Goddess
had
of Stardom tag league.
okay,
She
she
challenged
won
for,
the actual titles though.
yeah, but she also that was
Titles
the
mean
only
more.
title. That was the only title she went for. Megan Bain had a main event match at one of the biggest shows of the year and had a wasn't the it was a high profile match for another singles title. Mariah May didn't get any of those opportunities.
She
And
had the 5-star.
she did have the 5 star. She did fantastic. But I also wouldn't put her above Utami because I think Utami won the Goddess of Stardom championships. I think that's a stronger team overall.
I think I
Um,
need to reshuffle where Megan Bain is. Because I don't think Megan Bain had a better run than Mariah May, but I
mhm,
also don't think I should put Mariah May over Utami.
yeah.
So this is
Because
where the reshuffling comes.
personal preference, I prefer Mariah May to Megan Bain, but I think
That
Megan
those
Bain
are
has,
points that matter.
yeah, but
Remember, you said it at the beginning.
I did, but I also think Megan Bain has been more impactful in Stardom than Mariah May because to me she's done it with less time. Um, to
Mariah
me,
May was
you've either
number
got to
2
go
in her
Utami,
faction,
Mariah
though.
May, or Megan Bain in that order, or yeah,
I'm moving Utami up.
okay,
That's what I decided within this conversation, no matter what. I was like, wait a minute, we have her below Tommy. Just the story. And
yeah,
I understand what you're saying, and I'm trying to take just personal bias out of this as well,
mm.
because there's a lot when it comes to Mariah. Um,
This will be a fun one to see what people say.
yeah,
Yeah,
I think most would side with Mariah just
yeah,
based off of like I think she had a better top matches overall. Like I prefer her match with Julia over anything
hmm
Megan Bates done.
yeah.
And I liked Megan Bane's match with Julia, obviously.
Mm,
Um, and I think her 5-star run and her relationship with Hanan and just the stories she made, like the May Sarah stuff, like those were all little things that I think
mm,
sh- I want to put her above Megan Bain. This is a complete admit to personal bias here,
yeah,
and she was here a little bit longer. This is one I will fight for, though.
you can have that. As I said,
All
like
right.
I don't think Mariah May goes above Utami. So if the
No,
result of
no, no,
that
no.
is this list, then sure.
The realization that Utami was below Megan Bain was starting to hit me as we were talking. I was like, I don't know, because she did have a bigger story and best match, and
Mm,
I feel like that alone probably puts her above both of them. Um, all right, that was a fun little debate. See, this is what the show's all about,
yeah.
folks. I knew Mariah May was going to be a complicated one. What a run, though. All right, you know what? I'll let you pick the next two.
The next two, well, obviously we're not going to go immediately back to back. I'm going to pick one, and we're going to talk. Let's go. Look, this is the one I think is going to be a lot of fun. Um, she just lost the championship. Let's go with Mariah.
Okay, yeah, Mariah, what a year, huh? What a year. Accolades wise, doesn't get much better.
Yep,
Cinderella tournament win, back to
back
back,
to back.
second person ever to win two. Goddess Stardom title reign, which again we kind of brought up with Ami, that really hurt
Yes.
her claim, and that really hurt Mariah's claim. Then Mariah, of course, wins the Wonder of Stardom
Mhm.
title by beating the double champion Tam Nakano, and then the reign. The reign was something.
See, we
It
are quite split on that. This is quite
Yes.
interesting.
I was very underwhelmed by a reign that I was very much looking forward to.
Mm,
And it's maybe more so because I had such high expectations for her as a fan of hers. And I'm not saying it's her fault either. You mix in a draw in there. That's never something that I asked for. I know you liked the match a lot more than I did at Dream Queendom.
yes.
I think you also liked the Momo match more than I did as
I
well,
basically rate all of her title matches probably like a quarter star at least higher than you do.
which is, nothing technically.
Mm,
Like if you
mm,
really think about it, it's like nothing. But you definitely have preferred a lot more of her reign. And I
yeah.
think ultimately it will go down for many as an underwhelming reign, all things considered. Especially if you were a fan of Mariah, maybe not. If you're a fan of Mariah, maybe not. But there were a lot of matches I wanted her to get that she didn't. I didn't picture her reign including Konami, Momo Watanabe, and Saori no twice.
Yeah.
Um, I think she was really hurt by having to wait
Mm,
for her Wonder of Stardom title reign, right? She had to
yes.
wait months after winning the Cinderella, and I think that just hurts her so much. I'll let you go.
Yeah, in ring, I think she's had a pretty good year. I've enjoyed her championship run a little bit more than Scott did. I thought she did really well in the 5-star Grand Prix. She had a lot of top quality matches there. The Cinderella tournament victory obviously is a fantastic accolade. She did something only Maya Watani's ever done. The quality of that Cinderella tournament, though, wasn't ideal. Wasn't her fault. She beat who was in front of her. But when the final two matches basically involving Mai Sakurai and Amy Sarai. You just have to look at where they sit on this list to know that's not exactly the peak of the situation. Tag Run should have been a really good opportunity, but it wasn't good. New eras don't really work that well together as a tag team. The accolades obviously lift her up, but it's been a mixed year in terms of match quality and prominence in the company for her. I would put her at the bottom of A tier. I think the accolades mean she can't be lower than A. The match quality
Mhm.
just it comes down to personal preferences in that one. Whether you're putting her below Megan Bain, above Megan Bain, above Mariah May, probably comes down to much of a muchness. I would put her above both the foreigners, but I would understand if someone thinks she shouldn't be above them because of the downsides of her. She's had high highs in 2023, but she's had some disappointing lows also.
Hmm. She, in some ways, she's very comparable to Mina,
Mm.
but I thought Mina hit the higher highs
Yeah.
and she had a better tag title reign,
Yes.
which was shorter, but she had a
Yes.
better tag title reign. Um, she didn't really have a wonder started title reign to begin with, but I think they're very comparable. For me, it's do I put her above or below Utami?
Mm.
Because
Comes
you're
down
right.
to accolades versus probably story there.
Yeah, and I don't know, so I'll let you make that pick. It's not easy.
No, and like it's I can't even do it like, well, who's my favorite? Because like in my Stardom top five, these two are
They're
both in
both
my top
there.
five. I put Mariah slightly above Utami in personal favoritism, but it's like 3 and 4.
Yeah, that's why I'm
I
letting you
think,
choose.
yeah, I guess like if you're looking at accolades, she probably does go above Utami. She won the Wonder of Stardom Championship. She did hold it for quite a while. They've held the Goddess of Stardom titles for about the same amount of time, and the Cinderella victory, which is something Utami doesn't have to her name. When you're looking at it from that perspective, probably just bumping it above. But Utami's peak is obviously higher with the story, but I've got to give it the accolades there.
I think you're right. I think Mirai is an interesting case, certainly.
Mm.
But with all those accolades, you can't put her much lower. Like you
Yeah.
can't. No matter how you felt about her year, she checked off every single box. All right, next up, let's do Momo Watanabe.
Yep.
Momo Watanabe has been interesting this year. I thought she actually had a really good in-ring year in 2022.
Mhm.
This year she didn't. She's part of the Queen's Quest story, obviously,
Yes.
and she was a key part of that story.
Yeah. Yeah.
That
She was the
I'm
number
not
two
trying to.
for Oedo Tai.
Yeah, I'm not trying to bring up the jokes for that one. That's actually like a big important part of her
Yeah.
year,
She does actually
because
earn points for that.
yeah, she does. Unlike everyone else that we joked about. Um, However, she did have the Saya Kamatani Wonder of
Mhm.
Stardom title match. She also
Yes.
had a Mirai Wonder of Stardom title
Mhm.
match, all in the same year. She did not challenge for the world this year. She did
No.
challenge for the tags
Couple
multiple
of times.
times.
Yep.
Um, it's funny, people always talk about how Momo's like not included anymore. It's like I'm saying these things out loud. She did all these different main event type like big title matches. She's busy.
Mm.
She's busy every year. It's just she's not winning the big ones. So I know
Yeah.
people will get upset about that, but I think she stayed busy enough and delivered enough solid performances that like I'm not gonna go. I'm certainly in B tier.
For sure. Yeah. Her in
Um,
ring work definitely gets her into B tier, and she's
yeah,
done enough through the
helps.
year. It's just a matter of where she goes there because she's against people who don't have accolades but performed really well. Some people with accolades who maybe haven't done as much.
Yeah.
So it's a very
And I think she
interesting.
keeps finding her character more and more too. I
Yeah.
thought her character work was actually really good this year when she got to show it.
I know some
And
people don't like the Oedo Tai stuff. They feel like it takes away from who she is as a wrestler. But I think what she gains in character makes up for any loss in ring as a result, personally.
absolutely. Um, hmm.
I would say
What's your
middle of B tier.
Yeah, yeah.
I think
Above
I
Ida.
would say above my.
I think below Ida.
Yeah, I think so, which is not something I would have thought at the start of the year.
Shout out Gory Chan.
Yeah.
Absolute beast. Love
And
that.
I also want to point out because this matters, Rena is ruining a streak of 4 people with the right arm up towards her head.
She is. She is. So B tier is as followed for the podcast listeners. Hazuki, Nanai, Nanai,
What?
Jesus.
What? What? What?
No, Natsuko Tora, Hameka, Saida, Momo Watanabe, Mai Sakurai, Rina, Yuna Mizumori, Nanai, Takahashi, and Yuzuki. I just realized you were supposed to pick back to back, and you did not. So I have
That's
to
okay.
now give you the option here. You have
Yeah.
a hitter's row here, my friend.
Yeah, well, I want us to talk about one of the biggest hitters of the year with just a couple of things that happened to maybe hurt their spot. Let's go for the record-breaking Wonder of Stardom champion, Sai Kamitani.
It's a good one. It's
Yeah.
definitely a good one. So obviously important to name. She would probably be number one if she didn't get hurt. I want
You
to
look at her
preface that.
run to the 5-star Grand Prix, she is top of S tier.
She's top of S tier. She had the Wonder title reign finished this year, including two bomb matches
Mhm.
with Mina and Hazuki, like two of the best singles matches of the year in Stardom. She
Yep.
then is in the key star of the match of the year and story of
Yes.
the year with Utami. And she's well on her way into that 5-star Grand Prix, rumored to win the 5-star
Yes.
Grand Prix and go on to the main event of Stardom Dream Queendom. She is someone that would be comfortably sitting at the top of not only this entire tier list, but the wrestler of the year list if
Mm.
she didn't get injured.
Yes.
And the 5-star Grand Prix suffered greatly with no more Saya
Yep.
Kamitani. But how did she bounce back? She won the tag titles with Utami Hayashishita,
Mm.
and of course closed out the year with a great win over Natsuko Tora and Momo Watanabe. So even despite the injury, I don't know how I put her anywhere besides S tier, because the Wonder Stardom title reign was the end of a historic
Mm.
Wonder Stardom title reign. And then she's in the story of the year and the match of the
Mhm.
year.
Yes.
And then she wins the tag titles at the end of the year. So
Yep.
even without the 5-star and the tag league, she just had such an incredible year. Yeah, she's just the best. She really is.
I want to put this into context. In our discussions, we don't have a definitive list yet, but if you're talking Stardom Match of the Year candidates, she has 3 of the top 4. You have the cage match, you have her versus Suzuki, which is definitely in the, if it's not number 1, it's probably number 2. And for me, Mina Shirakawa versus Sai Kamitani is at worst the top 5. It's probably in my top 3. I'm biased because I was there. But yeah, that's the thing.
You're
3 of the
biased.
top 4, 3 of the top 5 matches of Stardom's year directly involved Sai Kamitani. And she had record-breaking run. She's definitely S tier for me. I would put her above Sayori, but I also had Sayori lower internally than you did. And they
My
missed probably a
debate.
similar amount of time when you factor in Sayori wasn't there as much through
I'm
the
absolutely
first
putting
half.
her a bit above Sayori.
Yeah.
And if she was active the whole year, she'd be comfortably
Mm.
ahead of Julia as well. I think the injury does take away, but man,
It came at the
having those
worst time.
having those matches, like those top tier matches and that
Mm.
top tier story, I heavily favor that over a bad World of Stardom title reign and a arguably bad Artist of Stardom title reign so far, and a title that I don't give a damn about.
The thing
This is
ultimately that probably hurts me with the Sai Kamitani discussion, I'm fine with her going above Julia, but what would ultimately hurt it is through the first half of the year with that title reign, the fatigue was starting to set in. Now it's hard to weigh that up in terms of talking about 2023 because the fatigue came because she had a full year in 2022.
yeah.
But like as great as the matches were, we were kind of thinking, okay, let's pull up stumps a bit. And when the rumors came out about her having meant to win the 5-star Grand Prix, there was a bit of a oh come on, let's take a breath. Um,
Yep.
but in terms of performance in 2023, in terms of importance in 2023, I think there's a definite case for her to go above Julia, despite the time missed due to injury.
Hmm. I don't know. I don't know. This is the toughest one for me so far.
Here's the kicker. In terms of accolade, the World of Stardom title does sit above the Wonder. And if we
That's
are
true.
literally a dead
That's
tie
true.
in this, I think you've got
Yep.
to give the accolade of the
All
light
right.
title.
I'll give you that. I'll give you
Yeah.
that. They both dropped them at the same time, had as many
Mm.
defenses in the year.
Yeah,
So
within the
I'll
year.
give within the year. I'll give you that. I think
Yeah.
Saya could slot in right there.
But if
But
you had Sarah above Julia, I would understand for those.
your reasoning was good though. And
Mm,
she missed time. So
yeah.
I think that definitely still hurts. All right. How about you name another one?
Let's speaking of injuries, let's go Natsupoi.
Man, what a run it was for Natsupoi.
Yes.
Obviously, her main accolade is the tag titles
Hmm.
with Saori that ultimately ended prematurely. But
Yes.
let's talk about performance. Maybe no one has more of the performance angle here than Natsupoi when she was active.
Hmm.
Just a fantastic run in the
Mm,
5-star Grand Prix. A fantastic match against Mina Shirakawa in her one big title match this year. She also is the house show MVP. And
yes.
maybe more than any other wrestler that's been injured, could have an argument as missed the most
Yep.
in her presence. And I think that gives her points,
It
truthfully.
does.
Being missed that much, I think she's easy A at
Oh, for sure.
least. You know,
Yeah.
like the injury really hurts her and
Yes.
she doesn't have the accolades as others,
Mm.
but I think she's had a better year than almost everyone in A tier, at least,
In terms of in-ring performance, absolutely.
for sure.
The
But not
accolade
accolades.
situation, yeah, the accolade thing hurts because she's had the Goddess of Stardom tag reign, which she held him for a little bit of time. Like, it technically was August to November, but it wasn't like they didn't get the defenses up during that time, and she was
Right.
the reason they had to vacate. She did win the Artist of Stardom Championship, but it was incredibly short. It was kind of, it was a nothing reign. Perhaps more importantly than anything, she released an EP during this time. She's a musical artist at the moment.
Great album,
Yeah,
by the way.
yes, yes. I own
You're
that
right. She
album.
should be S tier. I do too. Who else released an EP? Don't answer that.
For me, when you're looking in this situation, it comes down to how much does the minimal accolades, because she's basically Hazuki with a couple of prop title reigns,
Hey, their
which
title reigns
puts her
nonetheless,
into
though.
A tier.
Where are we going? Definitely above those two.
Yes. How much do you? Here's the question: how much do you value the Atami story? That
Enough.
is the barometer. Yeah, that is the
I
barometer.
value it enough. A tier is now Azumi. How the hell is Azumi still at the top? That's crazy. I did not
Because
expect her to
she's
still be at
good.
the top. That's true. Azumi at the top, then Mia Shirakawa, Mirai, Tommy Hayashishita, Natsupoi, Mariah May, and Megan Bain all fill
Yeah.
out the A tier. All right, here we go. Let's do Starlight Kid. This is an interesting conversation.
Do we have to cover Starlight Kid?
This is going to be ugly, folks. She is not in B tier.
No.
She is in C tier for me. And it's been a bad year for Starlight Kid. She did not have a breakout 5-star.
No.
Pretty forgettable 5-star. And the one match knew she would deliver in, she was hurt for. She
Yeah.
missed time.
Yeah.
No accolades.
The new blood tag titles, she won the
The
inaugural
first.
tournament. She won
Yeah.
those titles, but like Wingori already feel like better champions than her and Karma were.
Yeah. She did not play up to her spot. She had the great match with Azumi for the high speed
Yes.
title.
Yes, and the main event in the Dream Tag Festival.
Yes. That was
She
very good
closed
as
out
well.
with that. They're the two highlights because yes, she was involved in the cage match, but
I
given
was
the
trying not to say
story,
it.
it was my turn. Given the story that she could have had with the
Yeah.
people in that match, she was a tertiary part of that story. So she doesn't get the bonus points like some of the other people on the roster for that, despite the fact she did a moonsault off the cage.
She
Yeah,
did
she
do a
put a body
moonsault
on the
off
line.
the cage.
Yeah. Yeah, she is in C tier, honestly, because we're, like Kogama, you're factoring in expectation with her.
Yeah.
I would have her below Waka Tsukiyama.
Wow. Oh man.
She's been
Hmm.
the most disappointing part of the Stardom roster in 2023.
It's not all her to blame.
No, look, she hasn't been given the opportunities. She'd been, not, I don't want to say forced into the back seat, but Scott and I, for those who maybe don't know, we have this theory: Azumi and Starlight Kid can never have good years at the same time. When Azumi has a really good year, Starlight Kid takes a back seat. When Starlight Kid has a good year, Azumi takes a back seat. You look at this tier list, Azumi is the top of A list. By our theory, that means Starlight Kid is right down there. And I think, unfortunately, she's not done anything this year, and she should have done so much. We had her winning the Cinderella tournament at the start of 2023. We both predicted that.
Yeah, that's why I've retired from predicting them throughout the tournament. Yeah, so I'm in agreement with C. I'm just trying to think like I'm comparing with Walker now. I can't believe I'm saying this out loud. I'm comparing with Walker now in my head, and it's like the story that Walker had does really overpower a lot of what Kid did.
Yeah.
But I don't want to like we've been talking about accolades this whole time. I understand it's just the new blood tag titles. I get it. But it's still an accolade.
Yeah, yeah.
And everyone that has an accolade, the lowest is Saki Kashima.
Tekla.
Okay, the lowest is Tekla. So I feel like I have to at least push her ahead of Waka. And then it's between her and Miyu Hamasaki.
Things you
Like,
never thought you'd be saying in
do you
2022.
actually think Tekla's had a better year than Starlight Kid?
No, but I wasn't expecting Tekla to have anywhere near as
That's
good a year
true.
as Starlight
There's the
Kid.
disappointment aspect.
Yes.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, I guess I'm gonna put her below Hamasaki. You cool with that?
Yeah, yeah.
But
Look,
ahead of
I mean, I had her
Waka?
below Waka, so
I
yeah.
know.
It sounds
I
ridiculous to say, and in a way it is, but this speaks to
We're
the
not
level of
posting
disparity.
this on social media. We're gonna
We're
absolutely
posting this image without context.
that would be wild. That'd be wild. All right. I'll let you pick next. We're gonna go back
Okay.
and forth for the
Um.
rest.
Look, we've covered
You've
two of
saved
the
all my
sisters.
favorites, I've noticed.
Yeah, yeah,
All
yeah.
the people that I
All
talk
of
up
your
the most.
favorites.
Well,
Let's
not
cover
one of
one of
them.
your favorites in Hanan. Let's finish off the sisterly trio.
Ooh. I will sing the praises of Hanan.
Yeah, go for it.
Uh
This is your floor.
a year of growth for her. She has, I think, taken the opportunity by the horns, right? She didn't get the wonder match that I hoped for or the world, but that's okay. What she did is show she's ready for that,
Yes.
right? And one of the big things for her was elevating her placement, right, on the card. She's no longer underneath the Kogamas and her faction. She has stepped above.
Yes.
And I think she's well on her way to going above Hazuki potentially in the new year. I'm not lying. Like I think that's a possibility, depending where her role is and how much they want to push her out the gates. I think it's all like obvious that she's gonna be, a top star for them, but it's coming. And I think her essentially glow up in her gear and new music, like she grew. She literally grew up, right?
Yeah.
And she has an accolade, she
Mm-hmm.
won the new blood tag belts, and I think her and Saida have been great.
For sure.
Um, she's had, I thought, the best singles match of her career
Mm-hmm.
against Azumi. Um, she's had some great trio showings now that they're part of like the big trio with Mayu and Hazuki. And I think overall, and I thought I really liked until, of course, Mayu got hurt. I thought her and Hanum were a really good tag team in the Goddess of Stardom tag league. She's one of those people who going into this year, she could surprise, right? With she could surprise in terms of Cinderella placement. I could see her make
Mm,
it far. I'm not saying
yeah.
win, but make it
Mm,
far, and I think that's something that I'm hoping for. That's what they should be using that tournament for. She had that great match with May Sarah, and she seems to be starting a rivalry with May Sarah, which I'm all for
yes.
because one, I want these young wrestlers to start something on their own, right? And that's something that they can build on and build on and build on. But I just think this has been her best overall output of year in terms of wrestling,
Mm,
and I think that's very important. And I just think she grew so much. You know, we gave a lot of points to the Amasakis and the Sakurais and the
mhm.
Yunas and the Rinas for growing and Idas for growing. I think she deserves that same love and respect in her placement.
I think this year has been what some people were hoping last year would be for her. In
Mhm.
like they gave her some opportunities and she got the chance to shine and she did well, but I don't think she necessarily took the bull by the horns for
Yeah,
the
she had
most
one
part.
match, in my
Yeah,
opinion,
she had the
like
artist
one
match.
standout. Yeah,
Yes. But like even the 5-star Grand Prix was very much a growing pain situation for her.
absolutely.
This year, though, she's come in, she's changed the music for the better. I know some people love the theme, but this
I
is a
love the new
maturer
song.
theme. Yeah,
Yeah,
this new song is a maturer one. It's befitting of someone who's graduating from high school. She's changed her gear, far better look for her. Changed her
yeah.
hair. Like, looking at her at the start of 2023 to the end of 2023, the massive growth in terms of taking her seriously as a wrestler. In
Mhm.
ring, she's found that consistency. She's doing really well. She's getting chances to spotlight and prove herself. And I think this year she started to really take those opportunities and do great things with it. And I think she's been rewarded with that, both in ring, giving the chances, and I think she will be rewarded on this list. Um, I would put her above her makeup personally.
Victory for me. All right, I'll take it. Yeah, I can't put her above like the Natsuko's. I can't put her
Mm,
above the Hazukis, obviously, just because of like their importance
yeah,
to a lot of things this year. But in terms of growth, in terms of where she's gone, you know, we've people have been saying it forever, and this is the year that I think a lot of people can truly say like this is the future, one of the
mm,
true futures of Stardom. And I'm very excited to see where she goes, and if she starts developing rivalries with other of the younger class, I think that's also quite exciting. So I'm very happy for Han, and I think next year could be even higher, depending
for
what
sure.
opportunities she gets, because you just
It's
want to see
harder
her
next
grow.
year. It's harder,
Yes.
sorry, this year, because the expectations are there now. You know, she
Yep.
didn't have those same expectations coming into 2023. Now that's been lifted, she has to do more to,
Yep.
if we were looking at this tier list for next year, she has to do more to stay in the spot she's here.
Yeah, I'd like to see her get a finalist spot in one of the 75 tournaments they have. Um, she technically
Well,
made it
she
to the
was
finals of the stupid
Gold Rush tournament.
yep.
Yeah.
Great.
So she's already there.
All right. I feel like you're just trying to leave certain people for me. Let's go with Shuri.
Yeah.
Interesting year for Shuri in the most unremarkable possible way. And it's not her fault.
No, she
It's the
needed a slow
typical way it
year.
goes.
I think she needed
Which
to
is
have a slower
ass.
year.
I hate slow years for her.
But yeah, because like she was the focal point through all of last year. She was more or less a focal point for the year prior. It was only natural she would get a chance to slow down, rest the body a bit, kind of refresh. And look, I think you're seeing that fire and hunger inside of her. She kind of wants to burst back onto the scene. Obviously, is where this episode goes live. She's got the January 4th show against Maya Watani. Perfect way to kick off the new year and I guess a revitalized year for Shuri. In ring, she's been Shuri. She's been fantastic. You give her a match, she delivers above and beyond. She has been shackled in those a lot of those matches with the UWF rules, which they have been insistent on basically giving her for a lot of this year. And there is a very hard ceiling for those matches. I feel she's done her best to break through it, but there's a ceiling on those matches. You give her a normal match, she shines. Yeah, she had, I think, a match that's getting forgotten now against Shihiro Hashimoto. That was
Yeah,
fantastic. But
it
like,
was.
given the pomp and circumstance of All Star Grand Queendom and that happening back in April, I literally only just remembered it while we are talking about her right here. Um, So how much like it's kind of the Hazuki situation. You give her great opportunities, she puts on great matches, but she hasn't done anything really this year, unless you want to give her the undefeated UWF rules award, which is
I
not
do
an
not.
accolade.
She's a. Here's the thing with her is if she made the finals of the Triangle Derby,
Yep.
um, which is an accolade nonetheless. Not
It's a
not a
thing.
great one, but it is a thing. Like Shuri is in ring wise. There's very few people in the world that are better than Shuri.
Mm.
And that's what hurts me this year. And like you said, you put her in an opportunity, she's going to deliver.
Yeah.
And we already know that 2024 is going to be a bigger year for Shuri, based off her second or third or fourth or however
Mm.
long she goes in the Derby. I have no freaking clue, but however long she goes in that, it's going to be the IWGP Women's Title match against Mayu Iwatani, and that's what it's all about. That's why
Mm.
we want to see. That's where we want to see Shuri. So, like, you look at this field, and I have a really tough time putting her low because when she had the opportunity, she delivered. She had a great 5-star again.
Yep.
It's what she does, like, oh look, Shuri in the oh look at that. She might have had that might be the match of that's just what she
Yeah.
does.
She was
The
top 3 in the 5-star for me.
Yeah, great match with Mayu, great opening match with Suzu,
Mm-hmm.
obviously for many the match of the tournament on the very first night. I have to put the performance in
Yes.
because that's what we've done. I'm not going below B. Okay, I'm just telling you that right now.
No, no,
She's not
no.
below Yuzuki.
Yeah.
No chance in hell. And I'm putting her over like a Yuna.
Yes.
But then at that point, it's like, how much higher can I go?
Yeah, it's because you also have to factor in the placement disappointment. Like
Yeah,
I just went through
definitely
roasting
not her
Starlight
fault.
Kid on the coals, and not her fault, but like it has to be considered. Um, the performance levels, yeah, I guess I would maybe put her again. Things I never thought I'd say in 2023 below Saida, but above Momo Watanabe.
It's a good spot for her. Shout out Saida.
Yeah.
Saida continues to be the litmus test of of the B. So B is his fault. We have Azuki, Natsuko Tora, Hanan, Hameka, Saida, Shuri, Momo Watanabe, Mai Sakurai, Rina, Yuna Mizumori, Nanae Takahashi, and Nizuki. B block is B block.
Yes.
What's that? What it's called? B tier? Sorry, it is absolutely packed here. But we have 5 wrestlers left. 3 of them have held the World Stardom Championship before. 2
Yeah.
of them are 2 of the newest wrestlers on this roster. Trent, what's your pick?
Well, let's get rid of the non-champions first. There's one person here
Damn.
not currently holding a title, either in the picture or in real life. Suzuki, you're up.
It hurts. It hurts. Why did you have to say it like that? What a year for Suzuki.
Yeah.
Starts the year as an Artist of Stardom champion with prominence. Goes
Mm-hmm.
on to win the inaugural Triangle Derby with prominence. They dropped the titles in a great tag team match to restart at All Star Grand Queendom. And then, to the shock of many, Suzuki signs with Stardom, becomes a full time roster member, and from there goes on an absolute hell of a run.
Mm.
Yeah, it was a little quiet for the first few months there, but if you watch the house shows, you know how great she was. Her and Maysara became what I thought was the tag team of the year in Stardom via Crazy Star, just because they were both joining the company at the same
Yep.
time, and naturally they became just this great duo. She starts the generational struggle, a big
Integral.
story point of the summer that ultimately leads us to the second biggest story of the year, but the biggest one-on-one rivalry. And that, of course, was with Micah. She would go on to win the 5-star Grand Prix, beating Micah in the finals. She would then go on to the finals of the Goddess of Stardom Tag League, come up short against Divine Kingdom. And then, of course, she'd main event Stardom Dream Queendom, coming up short against the Micah for the World of Stardom Championship. At 21 years old, she did all this. I don't think there's much debate here. I think she's comfortably S tier, and I think she is the highest ranked wrestler. Because if you want to bring in performance, she's got that too.
Yeah. The 5-star Grand Prix is an accolade that pretty much instantly launches you to the upper stratospheres of any kind of debate like this. There's, in terms of what can you win in Stardom to make yourself a big name, it's the World of Stardom Championship, and then to me, it's the 5-star, even over the white belt. I think you win the 5-star Grand Prix, you etch yourself into history in a way that very few others can. She's done it at the age of 21. Yeah, that's just, it's ridiculous. And you can talk about, was she meant to be the original winner or not? Question. She won the tournament, and she absolutely looked like she belonged. She main evented Ryogoku Sumo Hall and did a fantastic job. Match quality's been there. She has been an integral story part of Stardom from the beginning of the year, even before she was signed. She had the red belt match against Julia. She was constantly kind of in and out focused. And from the moment she signed and like she took, it wasn't even months. It took weeks for her to really get settled into this company. And then she set herself up. She wasn't in the company long before she established the generational struggle. And that instantly catapulted her into the spotlight and put her as an equal amongst Stardom. Because like we talk about Azumi, Starlight Kid, Suzu Suzuki. They're all 21 years old, kind of all on that level. Suzu doing that, appearing as equals with the elite of Stardom, instantly kind of transported her above that tier of the Azumis and Starlight Kids, who are still kind of fighting to get to that point. And whenever they're there, they feel like underdogs. Suzuki doesn't feel like an underdog. She is S tier. With the 5-star Grand Prix accolade, I would put her above Julia.
100%. It's going to be hard to beat her. Just an incredible year for her.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely incredible year. She may have not ended the year with the World of Stardom Championship, but she is a certified main event star.
Yes.
In her first year in the company. First official year. Of course,
Yes.
She was part of it in 2022. Let's do Mayu Iwatani, shall we?
Okay.
Mayu Iwatani, IWGP Women's Champion, the longest reigning IWGP Women's Champion. She was that before she defended it, pretty much, which is sad. It's very sad.
But it is true.
She also got hurt.
Mm-hmm.
But accolades, whatever you may say, she beat Mercedes Moné.
Yes.
It's pretty good accolade.
That's a pretty good sort of, I don't know it was for the title, but like outside of titles and tournaments.
Yeah.
That's a pretty impressive accolade. She, again, like whenever you give her a good match, she always shines. She does a fantastic job. When she finally got to defend the IWGP Championship, I think she's done really well, and I like that kind of it's been reinvigorated. I think 2024 is going to be a lot better for her because she's going to be a focal point for the first few months up until and just a little bit past her movie being released, which is another accolade. She's got a movie being made right now. Maybe not the on the Stardom list, but it's an important thing to mention. But for
Still
a champion, like literally people were forgetting she was a champion for a lot of her run. She never really felt like she was in the generational struggle. She was a tertiary part of that. It was more like, oh, you kind of should be here, shouldn't you? Because you're Mayu Iwatani.
She a great 5-star.
Yep, and a fun goddess run with Hanan.
Before
but it was a lot quieter than someone of her stature should be. It pains me to say I would put her top of B class. But
wow.
I don't think she's done enough to be A tier.
Accolades, baby.
A title that people are kind of already sick of.
Yeah, but I don't care what people think of. It's still IWGP. It's still IWGP. I wouldn't I can't put her that high, obviously, because it's another forgettable year for her, despite winning the title, but it's still a title that at the very least has prestige and who's held it. It's Kyrie, Mercedes Moné, and now Mayu.
Mm.
When she's gotten the chance to defend it, she's delivered every single time. She had a great 5-star Grand Prix. Ah, man, I don't want to put her below Megan Bain. That sucks. But I get it. I get it. It's hard for me.
It hurts because like Maya Watani, like if we're just doing favorite wrestlers, she is top of S class, but like
Yeah.
it's not been there this year, not
She did the
consistently.
best with what she got.
Mm.
That's for sure. But
Again, the injury probably came at the worst time because she would have been a highlight of the Gold Rush match. She would have had a bit more time to shine through this sort of
yeah.
latter half of the year, but yeah, Maya Watani in getting weird injuries, like she dislocates her elbow doing a drop kick,
What
and
a
she
wild,
manages
wild.
to dislocate her pinky and have it blow up for like to a balloon for like
Yeah.
a month after the injury. That's one injury I understand. I've dislocated fingers. It just blows my mind. That's a very Maya Watani situation.
May Sarah. What a year.
Yep.
What a year for as I wrote about on voicesofwrestling.com that everyone could go check out at any time. Just an incredible year for May Sarah. In a year
Mm.
that we had no idea she was going to even be part of
Of
this
wrestling,
company.
not
Right.
just this company of wrestling. She wasn't
Yeah.
wrestling at the start of the year.
If you're watching the video, cheap plug, here's the article now. Go check it out. Uh, um, she had one of my favorite years in wrestling, truthfully. Just coming onto the scene and pretty much being an absolute star in every match and every opportunity she got. Her only downside has been the reign so far,
Mm.
and I'm not necessarily blaming her completely for it. One, she had to beat Saki.
Yeah.
And then she defended against someone before Tekla.
She did, I'm pretty sure.
She did. I don't remember who it was though.
I'll
They
try and
have
look
to
it up
be in
while
front
you
of. Oh,
talk.
Momoka Hanazono. Momoka Hanazono.
Right, yeah, that's
Yes, yes,
right,
yes.
yeah.
Which was a little bit underwhelming. I thought it was
A little
fine.
that was underwhelming, full
Well,
stop.
everyone expected it to be like this, fantastic match. It was definitely underwhelming because it was a high speed match, but it's not a match to remember
Mm.
by any means. And then the Tekla match, but I'm
Mm.
not going to let that hurt her too much because you want to talk about house show performances. You want to talk about pretty much any role they put her in. She was their Swiss Army knife in many
Mm.
ways. They're like, oh, we need someone to tag with this person. Here you go. Oh, we need someone to tag with this person. Here you go. Her and Megan Bain, obviously, were a fun duo on these house shows. Megan Bain throwing her around the ring and doing all these things. You also had her and Suzu, obviously, which I said tag team of the year, and I think that is something worth considering here. Going to the finals of the Goddess Tag League, winning the high speed title, of course. Don't want to just completely overlook that.
Mm.
She also challenged for the high speed title earlier in the year against Azumi in like her fourth match back, which was bold.
Yes.
And I think she was an absolute superstar in the Crazy Star Tag Team Title Challenge against Sayori and Natsupoi. I thought that was her breakout performance for anyone that was still
Mm.
questioning her. Um, just an MVP of show in and show out type thing, right? Like she's not going to be in the main event, she's not in the wonder matches, but for many people, she's put her name at least in the conversation with the kids and the Azumis and the Hanuns and the Suzus as that young core
Mm.
moving forward. And I think that says it all, right? Again, she wasn't even supposed to be here. She just happened to come back to wrestling. I'm giving her A tier. That is complete bias. I don't care. I just think like she has enough accolades. I'm giving her tag team of the year with Crazy Star for Stardom. And if Natsupoi is that high, then I think May Sarah can be that high.
So you would have her behind Natsupoi?
I haven't thought about the other two yet.
Yeah.
I was just saying, like, she has the same type of reasoning.
Yeah.
She didn't have the 5-star, obviously,
Mm.
but she did have she was around the whole year, and she I think she took advantage of the big matches, with the entire roster gutted at one point.
Yeah, she's an example of someone who, when the opportunity came, for that reason and other reasons, she's really stood up. Um, I am not as high on her as a lot of people, I think. I do think she's very talented, but I think people see her on a tier above where I see her. And the high speed title reign is legitimately disappointing for me because I think even with the talent that she's faced, it should have been so much better. And if I'm knocking Tekla for that, I feel like, yeah, it was two people in that match, two to tango. She needed to get knocked as well. The difference, obviously, being A, she's got the accolade in winning it, and everywhere else this year she has delivered. Tag team with Crazy Star. She's been a part of that story. I think she's done really well to ingrate herself into the roster. Despite coming in at the same time as Suzu Suzuki, it would be very easy to get lost in the shuffle, but she's made herself an important part. I would probably put her I'd have her at the bottom of A tier, definitely below Natsupoi. I don't know where I'd put her in terms of the foreigners. Um,
I don't either.
the fact that she doesn't like the goddess of Stardom accolade, Mariah May has, I think she probably beats
I'm thinking in
May.
between them.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
I think that's, fair, but, hell of a year, obviously,
Oh,
for her.
sure.
And I think 2024 is actually gonna be a lot better for her because I think the high speed reign's coming. She's had
Yes.
better matches on New Blood in singles
Yes.
matches than she's had for her title with
Yes.
Hanan specifically. I actually
Mm,
thought her match with, Hina was pretty solid from the
it
latest New
was.
Blood.
Yeah.
So I think, like, there's just something not connecting yet, and maybe it's just an Azumi defense that, gets it
Or a
going.
Hanan defense. That might be what we
I
need.
Man, they have a great energy together.
Mm.
Like, they wanna kill each other, and it's like, "Oh, okay. You're both bubbly and smiley, and nope, not when you're facing each other." So I think, it's exciting to think what she could do next year, but I think that's a perfect spot for her. She's taking advantage of her opportunities.
Yes.
I think you're absolutely right. If her high speed reign now was it was better, she'd be even higher. But,
Mm. Yeah.
I think that's a fine spot. Interesting who we left the last two. The last two people, folks, that are left are both Micah and Tam Nakano. I think we'll do Tam now.
We've got to do Tam
We've
now, I think.
we've held off on Tam purposely. Um, no one beats Tam in accolades.
Yep. The only
Yeah,
person since Mayu Iwatani to hold both top belts at the same time. She closed out the biggest show of the year as the World of Stardom champion.
biggest show
A
ever.
championship. Yeah, yep. Biggest show of all time for Stardom. And she never lost the title.
Yep, totally. Never
And she
lost the
released
title.
an EP.
She did lose the Wonder title,
Tokyo Sports MVP.
Tokyo Sports MVP,
The most
but
popular wrestler on the roster.
I think she had one of the worst World of Stardom title reigns in history. It's like better than Alpha Female. Congratulations. Probably better than Mayu's first reign because Mayu got hurt even
Yes.
earlier.
Yes.
Um, but look at the matches she had. Right, she defends against Mina.
Good
There's a
match.
good match, but there's a lot of deflation in that match. But good match. Probably the best defense, truthfully. Either that or the
Yeah.
Megan one.
The
Then
best
she
defense
defends
for sure.
against new Megan Bain, who was if it was against Megan Bain now, oh baby,
Yeah.
we're cooking.
Yeah.
Um,
And it
then
was a good match. It was a good match. It's just,
yeah,
it's not necessarily a top tier World of Stardom match.
no, and then she defended against Natsuko Tora in what I thought was the worst World of Stardom title match in quite some time.
Mhm.
Um,
Not all her fault.
nope, nope. They just didn't click.
No.
Uh, but accolades have been the conversation for a lot of
Yes.
this, and that carries, and she's had some great matches this year. Obviously, the Julia match, specifically. I thought the Mariah match was good.
Yeah.
From my memory, I thought the Mina match was good. I feel like I'm missing something with her this year. I feel like I'm missing a big match or something, but I don't think I am actually. What did she do in the beginning of the year?
It was mostly just the Triangle Derby stuff. She wasn't like her challenging Julia wasn't because she had risen up the ranks. It was purely story based.
Yeah.
Which and
So
that was a
while
hot story. Like the
Mhm.
visual of her leading
Yeah.
at the press conference is still etched in my mind. I think based on accolades alone, the lowest
easily.
you can, the lowest I think you can put her as top of A. Because
Yeah, I think she's
being the
first
double
in A.
champion, you can't like that's an accolade that like it's almost like the 5-star Grand Prix bump. But I don't think she's had an impactful enough year necessary to be. Personally, I would have her above Sayori Nu, but I don't think she's at the level of Saya, Julia, or Suzu.
I can't put her on S. I
No,
just can't. Her
no.
reign was bad. Like her reign was bad. And her
Yeah.
reign, her doing the double title thing slowed down Stardom in every way.
Yeah.
It's just absolute stop. Like that's where the year went south for me.
Mm.
Truthfully, I know a lot of people were kind of like iffy before that, but once Amino lost that belt, it was like, all right, yeesh.
Yeah.
I think it's a good spot for her. We saved the best for last, arguably. There's a debate for that. That's why we're here. 2 hours and 46 minutes in. The final person we were talking is the reigning World of Stardom champion to close out the year, Micah. Micah checks all the boxes.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest being she's the World of Stardom champion to close out the year. Doesn't get much bigger than that.
Yeah.
She is the most popular wrestler in Stardom today. You just have to listen to the crowds domestically.
Mm-hmm.
Domestically.
Yes. Yes.
She's very
Although,
popular not
globally,
domestically.
yeah, like you'd make an argument,
Western, she's
maybe
very popular too.
the most passionate current fan base.
Absolutely. Helps when you're on top.
Mhm.
Helps when you're champion.
Well, it helps when you're trying to get on top, maybe more so than being on top.
She overcame a lot of comparisons,
Mm-hmm.
right? Sorry, Trent. But Jungle Kiona was a comparison for Micah.
Yep.
And she's the World of Stardom champion. Like, I just can't stress that enough. People called her Goto, right? After teaming with Hiroki Goto at
Mm-hmm.
Historic Crossover last year. By the way, this is supposed to be another one coming up soon. When the hell is that? Anyways, there is also the accolade of the Goddess of Stardom Tag League, which she
Yes.
won. Finals of the 5-star Grand Prix.
Yep.
She won a one-night tournament to get to
Yes.
that's a hell of an accolade too. She had arguably the best tag team match of the year with Mahime in Via Mahime. She had the emotional match against Hameka at the biggest show ever. It's very clear what tier she's in.
Yes.
It just comes down to where do we place her.
I think you literally said it when you said save the best for last. She has delivered top tier matches from January through to December. Like I've been doing my year end Stardom thing, and like what I do is I pick a match from every month that people should watch. She's in like a third of those matches. Best match in January, best match in February, best match in December, and there's another one in there as well where she gets that spot as well. Debatably the best story now that we sit here and the story is finished. Like I would still put the Queen's Quest story just higher. But the fact I can actually have to stand back and consider it. The story she had getting from a dependable mid-card tag team wrestler to being the top of the Stardom roster, going through the adversity of the 5-star Grand Prix, thinking about quitting as a result of it, and then coming back, firing through what she did, refining her passion with Megan Bain, having Himeka kind of reminding her what she's doing, and getting to that final, completing the story. I was on the Suzu train, until I started writing about this match in the preview, and I looked at Micah's story. I looked at how loud the fans have been with her since February, the very first show where fans could cheer. Pretty much since Micah's been in the company. She joined the start of 2020, had like 2 months to establish herself, and then COVID. So for 2 years, fans couldn't cheer. The moment fans could cheer, they were thunderous for Mai Hime. And as you look as the year has gone on, as much as I loved Himeka, it wasn't just for Himeka, it was very much for Micah. And here we stand coming into 2024. You're listening to this in 2024. I think she deserves to be top of S tier.
Yep. It came down to who won the World of Stardom Championship. Perfectly.
Pretty
Like
much,
that's who was going to win this tier system. She is Stardom's MVP, Wrestler of the Year, whatever you
Breakout
prefer.
star,
So,
most improved.
for the people at home, here is the tier list in order from best to worst, starting with the D tier. Koguma, Fukigen Death, Lady C, Momokogo, Hina, and Aya Sakura. In the C tier, Saki Kashima, Ami Sarai, Tekla, Miyu Amasaki, Starlight Kid, Waka Tsukiyama, Ruaka, and Hanako. B tier, Mayu Iwatani, Hazuki, Natsuko Tora, Hanan, Hameka, Saida, Shuri, Mo Watanabe, Mai Sakurai, Rina, Unamizumori, Nai Takahashi, and Yuzuki. Didn't change that one now, did we? The A tier. Tam, Nakano, Azumi, Mina Shirakawa, Mirai, Utami Hayashishita, Natsupoi, Mariah May, May Sarah, and Megan Bain. And in the top tier, the S tier, the prominent 5 of the year, we have Micah, Suzu Suzuki, Julia, Saya Kamatani, and Sayori Ano. 2 of them, of course, ending the year as the top 2 champions in Stardom. What a year it was. If you told me at the beginning of 2023 that Micah, Suzu Suzuki, and Sayori Ano would all be in the S tier, I would have said you're nuts. If you told me at the beginning of 2023 if Mariah May and Megan Bain would be above Mayu Iwatani, Shuri, Momo Watanabe, Starlight Kid,
and Yuzuki.
I'd say you're Hazuki. I'd say you're absolutely lying. But here
Yuzuki,
we
not
are.
Hazuki.
Oh well, Yuzuki. You know, if you told me Starlight Kid would be below a person I never heard of in Yuzuki, I would have said what. But here we are, and I think this is the, people are going to agree, disagree. It's going to be close, but I had a lot of fun doing this. 2 hours and 52 minutes in, our longest episode ever. If you got through this entire thing, God bless. This kind of serves as the start of what we will be doing next week, which is our Stardom guide for the new year. And there'll be another video, folks. We're bringing 2 videos back to back, and then you'll probably never see our faces again.
For another year, probably.
Yeah, so hopefully you enjoyed it. But the Stardom Guy will serve as a chance to help people get into the world of Stardom with 2024 underway. We'll be going over factions, titles, main stories to know. We kind of went over the roster today, which is nice. So we kind of are able to cut that episode down and hopefully not give you another 3 hours. So we did go over the roster today. We'll kind of, when we go through the factions, we'll give you the importance and who's who and champions. Those are the people most important, stories to look forward to, and so on and so forth. So much to cover. But thank you, everybody that watched and listened. And with that, we do our usual close to the show. Trent, where can the people find you? What do you have going on?
So you can find me at One Up Culture. I have a few things going on. Obviously, this is the end of year, the start of the new year. by the time you listen to this, I do have a Wrestle Kingdom video preview over on Wrestling with Kieran. Probably cutting it a bit fine to watch that because that's also a 2-hour long thing. I like the sound of my voice and apparently like the look of my face, considering how long I do these video formats for. I've also got a Stardom year in review piece. Probably won't be out by the time you're hearing this. Will be coming out soon. That's kind of, I wrap up the full year in Stardom. A little bit of this kind of stuff, a little bit of other sort of look back at what's going on and everything. Much in the way this is, it's kind of designed for people to have a refresher and remind themselves of the year that was, be it now or in the future. I have podcasts called Choco Cast where we cover Gatto Move every month on One Up Culture's network, and also the Ocean Cyclone Show with myself, Scott, and Ryan. We will have a new piece coming out. Might be
this
next
weekend.
week. Yeah, this weekend.
This weekend.
That's scary because we haven't recorded it yet. And normally Ocean Cyclone Show, we record earlier than we release. But that one will be coming out this weekend. A year in review, again, touching on some of these things, touching on some different things. It's not just Stardom, it's all of Joshi, but we do tend to be a little Stardom heavy at times. But that's always a lot of fun. Probably the most ridiculous out there show that we do. So be sure to check that out.
Yeah, absolutely. Follow me at Scott E Wrestling on Twitter if you're watching the YouTube channel. It's right there. You can read it above my head. Check out my May Sarah article, like I said earlier, over on voicesofwrestling.com. Very proud of that. I should have a Stardom Dream Queendom review out this past weekend, hopefully, once I finally watch this. Spoiler alert, this came out. We recorded this a little bit before, but I need to finish watching something and rewatching things. It is the year end, so I will be going back and watching a couple matches now that Stardom's year has completed. So putting together match of the year, so on and so forth. Definitely check out the 5-Star Joshi show. Coming soon, the Joshi Awards for this year. I will be announcing those. Everyone has voted by now, so tallying the votes, see who will come out on top. Maybe it'll look a lot like this in terms of certain awards. I think that's a real possibility. What else? Like Trent said, Ocean Cyclone Show, definitely worth checking out. Of course, also on the Count Out Podcast Network, I do Ring Post Radio every Sunday morning. If you want to hear my thoughts about the rest of the wrestling world. I know I don't, but maybe you do. And yeah, that's it. It's a new year. It's the busiest year. It's the busiest week in wrestling. So if you get the time to listen to this, thank you so much. Thank you for the support in 2023. And we promise to bring you an even better 2024. So until next time, for Trent, I'm Scott. This was the Stardom Road Podcast on the Pound Out Podcast Network. See ya.